In the silent void of space, a lone starship glided gracefully against a backdrop of distant stars. It was the USS Enterprise, flagship of the Federation, on an otherwise routine patrol through an unexplored sector. On the bridge, Captain Jean-Luc Picard sat poised in his command chair, gazing at the main view screen with a thoughtful expression. Around him, the bridge hummed with quiet activity. Commander William Riker by his side, Counselor Deanna Troi observing the Captain-S mood, and Lieutenant Worf at tactical, ever alert for any threat that might emerge from the unknown darkness ahead. Without warning, the calm was shattered by a sudden, piercing alert from the ship's sensors. An ensign at the operations console turned to address the captain, her voice urgent. "Captain, detecting a massive surge of energy directly ahead. It's unlike anything we've seen reading off the charts." Picard leaned forward, brow furrowing. "On screen," he ordered calmly. The viewer shifted to reveal a section of space ahead where swirling prismatic lights were coalescing into a brilliant vortex. The phenomenon spiraled and crackled with raw power, as if space itself had been torn open. Commander Riker exchanged a quick glance with Picard. "That's no natural nebula," Riker muttered. Troi's eyes widened, and she spoke softly. "I sense something from that anomaly, Captain. It is difficult to describe, almost like a presence, and intense emotions, fear, determination." Worf's deep voice cut in, colored with both curiosity and readiness for battle. "The energy levels are fluctuating. It could be a wormhole or some kind of portal." Picard stood, adjusting his uniform and taking a few steps toward the view screen. "Red alert," he said with quiet authority. Immediately, the lighting on the bridge shifted to a crimson hue, and a klaxon sounded briefly throughout the ship. "Raise shields. Let us keep our distance for now. Mr. Data, analysis." At the science station, Lieutenant Commander Data's gold android eyes studied the streaming data on his console. His fingers danced over controls as he replied in a steady, precise tone. "Sensors indicate a localized tear in the fabric of space-time, Captain. It appears to be a dimensional rift of some kind, highly unstable. I am reading matter emerging, Captain. Something is coming through." All eyes snapped to the view screen again. From the swirling chaos of the rift, a colossal form began to materialize. At first, it was just a silhouette against the blinding light, a hulking shape that grew more defined with each passing second. The crew watched in awe and apprehension as details came into focus. It was a giant, humanoid-shaped machine, towering and armored, glinting under the strange luminescence of the rift. The object was massive, easily the size of a small starship, but shaped like a titanic robot out of Earth's old science fiction tales. On the Enterprise bridge, jaws dropped in astonishment. "Mon Dieu," Picard breathed under his breath. It was not every day one saw a giant mechanical being appear out of thin air. Worf's hands hovered tensely over his tactical board. "Captain, the object is enormous. Approximately 40 to 50 meters in height," he reported. "It's composed of an unknown alloy. No immediate weapon signatures, but I am detecting power sources within." Data added, "The construct S configuration is reminiscent of a bipedal combat vehicle, although its design is unlike any recorded Federation or known alien technology. The energy readings are unusual, part electrical, part perhaps a form of bioenergy. And there are life signs on board, 5 life forms inside that machine." The revelation that living beings were inside this giant mech surprised the crew. Life forms? Humanoid? Riker asked, stepping closer to Data S station. Data tilted his head, analyzing. Life signs are consistent with human patterns, sir. 5 humans. Their vital signs show elevated heart rates and adrenaline levels, possibly due to stress. They appear to be contained within a central compartment of the machine. I surmise it may be a manned vehicle or robotic exoskeleton of some sort. Picard raised a hand to his chin. 5 humans inside an enormous combat machine emerging from a rip in space-time? The possibilities ran through his mind: time travelers, aliens with human biosignatures, a lost Earth experiment. He knew one thing for certain: they had to approach this carefully. Open hailing frequencies, Picard said. Aye, sir, responded Lieutenant T-Pan at communications, fingers flying over her console. After a moment, she shook her head. No response on standard frequencies. The craft might not be receiving or recognizing our signal. There is a lot of interference from the residual effects of the rift. The view screen now showed the giant robot drifting, slowly moving as if carrying momentum from whatever journey it had just undergone. Sparks of energy clung to it like electrical halos, and it was clear the machine was not in stable condition. It listed slightly to one side, limbs not fully under control. It seemed to be falling caught in the pull of the nearby planet S gravity well. Picard realized in an instant the planet below was an uninhabited world the Enterprise had been charting. Mostly oceans with one large continent thick with purple-tinged forests. The giant mech was now tumbling towards that planet, pulled inexorably by gravity. If there were people inside, they were in danger. Mr. Worf, any communications from them at all? Perhaps a distress call? Picard asked, voice urgent. Worf shook his head briskly. No signals detected from the object, Captain. But I am picking up fluctuations in its power grid. It may have taken damage. Riker's eyes were glued to the scene on the screen. The mech was entering the upper atmosphere now, a trail of superheated air and plasma forming around it. If they donned to regain control, that thing S going to crash land. Picard made a swift decision. Bridge to transporter room. Stand by to beam any life forms from that craft directly to sickbay if it breaks up, or if their life signs drop to lethal levels. Data, can we lock on to them? Data S hands worked swiftly. Attempting to compensate for interference from the atmospheric entry, I have a partial lock, sir, but the hull of the object is scattering our targeting beams. Transport at this moment is not advisable. On the screen, the plummeting robot became a streak of fire cutting through the sky of the planet below. Picard tightened his grip on the command chair. He hated watching a potential tragedy unfold without being able to help. Options, he snapped. Geordi LaForge's voice came over the intercom from engineering. Captain, if we modulate the main deflector, we might be able to emit a static warp shell around the object, slow its descent. But I can guarantee it holds. Make it so, Picard responded instantly. Within moments, a faint blue glow emanated from the Enterprise S deflector dish, a beam lancing out toward the atmosphere. It enveloped the falling giant momentarily. On the screen, the fiery descent seemed to slow, the Object S trajectory leveling out ever so slightly. But the strain was clear. Geordi's voice came again, strained with effort. The field S collapsing, Captain. They were still coming in too fast. Brace for impact, Riker muttered, watching tensely. Down on the planet's surface, in a wide clearing amidst towering alien trees, a brilliant streak of light grew larger in the sky. the forest animals scattered at the deafening roar of something barreling through the atmosphere. A second later, the ground shook violently as the enormous mechanical being slammed into the earth. It crashed through trees, carving a long gouge in the soil before finally coming to rest at the edge of the clearing. A cloud of dust and steam billowed up from the impact site, mingling with smoke from scorched foliage. For a few heartbeats, everything was quiet around the crash site, save for the crackling of fires on broken tree trunks and the metallic groan of the giant robot's cooling frame. Then, with a whir of servos and the grinding screech of damaged metal, the titanic machine stirred. The Megazord had landed. Inside its cockpit, 5 young heroes in colorful suits were shaken and disoriented. Sparks rained from overhead consoles, and warning lights flashed all around. Jason Scott, the Red Ranger and team leader, was strapped into the central control station. His heart pounded in his chest as he fought to steady his breathing. "Is everyone okay?" he managed, coughing once from the smoke that hung in the air. One by one, the others replied. To Jason S. Wright, Zach Taylor, the Black Ranger, groaned but gave a thumbs up. Still in one piece, man. That was one heck of a fall. At another console, Billy Cranston, the Blue Ranger, was already analyzing readouts with frantic urgency, his glasses somehow still perched behind his blue-tinted helmet visor. I am reading multiple system failures. The Megazord took severe damage in that whatever that was. Our descent trajectory was uncontrolled. The fact we re-intact is nothing short of a miracle. Trini Kwan, the Yellow Ranger, unbuckled her harness and moved to check on Kimberly Hart, the Pink Ranger, who had been thrown from her chair by the impact. Kimberly was pulling herself up, wincing. "I am okay," Kim assured Trini, though her voice was shaky. "Just bruised my shoulder, I think." Jason exhaled with relief, hearing his team. He tried to peer through the forward viewports of the cockpit. They were caked with dirt from the crash, and cracks spiderwebbed across one of the transparent panels. Outside, daylight filtered through thick dust. "Does anyone have any idea where we are?" he asked. The last thing he remembered before everything went white was battling one of Rita Repulsa's monsters, a towering armor-clad menace named Goldar amidst the skyscrapers of Angel Grove. Goldar had been unusually ferocious, and as their Megazord clashed swords with him, Rita had sprung a new trap, a swirling portal summoned by her dark magic. They had been sucked in before they could break free. Billy shook his head. "Coordinates are all over the place. This doesn't look like home. The star configurations. If I calibrate our instruments to known constellations," he tapped a screen, which flickered. "I can get a clear reading. But if I am right, we might not even be in our own universe anymore." That pronouncement settled heavily on them. Different universe, possibly far from Earth, or even in a different time. The Rangers exchanged uneasy looks. They had fought aliens, traveled to other planets, and even through time on rare occasions, but this was unprecedented. Kimberly's voice was quiet. "Do you think Rita sent us here on purpose? Where's Goldar? Did he come through too?" Zach checked another panel. No sign of that golden ugly on sensors, not that they are working right. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's here somewhere. Knowing our luck, he's not far. Jason nodded grimly. "Stay alert. We need to get the Megazord operational quickly in case Goldar or anyone else shows up. Billy, prioritize getting comms and sensors online. Try to contact Zordon or Alpha too. Let us see if they can reach us across dimensions. Billy was already on it. Communicator signals are down, but I'll do what I can. Each ranger also had a personal wrist communicator, but after the wild ride through the portal, static was all they got. Trini looked out a side viewport where the dust was beginning to settle. She could make out a dense alien forest around them, with massive tree trunks and foliage and colors ranging from deep green to violet. At least this place looks breathable, she noted. The environmental readings indicated an Earth-like atmosphere. Jason made a decision. All right, let us not sit in here waiting for trouble to find us. We should scout the perimeter, assess the Megazord-S damage from outside, and see if there's any immediate threat. Everyone, prepare to disembark. The team acknowledged. Even as adrenaline still coursed through them, they moved with practiced efficiency. Jason grabbed the hilt of his power sword, holstered by his side within the cockpit as a precaution. The others double-checked their sidearms and equipment. Each had a blade blaster, a small combined blaster and blade weapon at their belt, and they carried their signature weapons in storage compartments within the Zord that they could summon if needed. With a hiss, the Megazord-S side hatch blew open. The colossal robot was now kneeling awkwardly, one leg jammed into the churned-up ground. Its once gleaming armor was scratched and dented, wisps of smoke curling from joints. The Rangers emerged onto the slanted door that now formed a ramp to the ground. As they jumped down one by one into the soft, spongy alien soil, they felt the strange world's sun on their suits. The sky above was tinged a lavender blue with unfamiliar clouds. Kim shielded her visor with one hand as she looked upward, eyes widening at the sight of something in the sky. Guys, look. High above, a sleek, silver-white shape passed over the clearing. It was clearly a spacecraft of some kind, unlike any design they'd seen on Earth or among Rita S forces. It had a majestic saucer-like form, with two glowing nacelles trailing behind. Even at this distance, the Rangers could tell it was enormous easily, hundreds of meters long. Jason S. heart skipped. Could that ship be native to this world? Or another interdimensional traveler? Friend or foe? Everyone, defensive positions, he ordered calmly. They didn't yet know the intentions of whoever crewed that vessel. On the USS Enterprise S bridge, chaos had turned to hurried purpose. The crew had tracked the crash, and now the view screen zoomed in on the planet S surface, showing the downed robot in a clearing amid the forests. Through the smoke and dust, the ship's powerful sensors could pick out small figures moving around the fallen mech. Magnify, Picard instructed. The view tightened. Sure enough, 5 human-sized individuals in colorful attire were visible, standing near the giant robot's foot. They moved with coordination and speed that suggested training, and their bold red, black, blue, yellow, and pink suits made them stand out against the green-purple wilderness. Those must be the life signs we detected inside the machine, Riker said. They are wearing some kind of armor or suits, it looks like. Troy leaned forward, her eyes slightly unfocused as she attempted to sense the distant strangers. I sense their emotions now, much more clearly. They were wary, on guard, but also I feel hope and unity. They rebonded closely, like a team, and quite human in thought. Picard's stern expression softened a little at that information. Open a channel to them specifically. Use the sensors to pinpoint a communication directly to their location if possible. Piggyback on their likely communication frequencies. T-Pan at comms nodded. "I'll try a broad-spectrum hail directed at the crash site, Captain. Perhaps they have devices that can receive it." Down on the planet, the Rangers had fanned out cautiously around the Megazord-S perimeter. The giant robot knelt like a steel titan behind them. Trees lay toppled, and earth was ripped up all around from the impact. Jason held his sword loosely at his side, scanning the skies for the ship. He tapped the side of his helmet, trying the built-in communicator again. Still nothing. "This is frustrating. We have no idea who those people are up there." Before anyone could respond, a gentle crackle sounded from their helmet comms, a frequency they hadn't set. Then a calm, cultured male voice spoke all around them. "This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Federation Starship Enterprise. We mean you no harm. Please respond." The Rangers looked at each other in astonishment. Someone was contacting them directly, in perfect English no less. It wasn't a Zordan or Alpha, and certainly not Rita or her forces. This voice sounded diplomatic, controlled, and nothing like the taunting tones of their enemies. Billy quickly recalibrated his Helmet S receiver to respond. Jason stepped forward and raised a hand to his helmet mouthpiece, deciding to answer in kind. "This is Jason, Captain Picard, did you say? I am Jason Lee Scott of the Power Rangers." He glanced at his teammates, hoping he'd chosen his words right. How did one address a starship captain from another dimension? "We read you, and we copy that you mean no harm. We don't either. In fact, we could use some help." Up on the Enterprise, there was a collective sigh of relief as Jason S.'s youthful voice came through the bridge speakers. Worf kept his finger near the mute in case it was a trick, but the content was promising. Picard smiled slightly and motioned for open line. "It is good to make your acquaintance, Jason. We observed your arrival. Are you and your team all right?" Jason looked around at his friends and the smoking Megazord. "We've been through a bit of a rough ride, but we were all right, yes. Our ship, I guess you could call it, is badly damaged, though. We appreciate your concern." He paused, unsure how much to say. "Captain, we were not exactly sure where we are. Our instruments are down. We were in the middle of a fight and got pulled through some kind of portal. Next thing we know, we crash here." "Is this your planet?" Picard responded. "Negative. This planet is uninhabited as far as we know. We are explorers, and we were studying an anomaly in this area when you came through. You're aboard the Starship Enterprise, representing the United Federation of Planets. We from, well, to put it simply, the future, perhaps relative to your time, and it seems possibly a different universe than your own. We currently orbiting this planet above you," Riker quipped quietly to Picard. "Interesting tactic, just putting it out there plainly." Picard shot Riker a mild look, but continued. Jason processed that. The future? Another universe? It was a lot to take in, but given everything they'd seen, not unbelievable. Enterprise. Understood. We are indeed from a different Earth, I think. We are a team that protects our world from alien threats. Call us the Power Rangers. We pilot the giant robot you see, we call it the Megazord. It was built to defend our city. We got dragged into that anomaly while fighting a dangerous enemy. Now we here. On hearing this on the bridge, Data-S curiosity was piqued. "Fascinating," he remarked softly. "Dimensional travel, as I suspected," Worf interjected into the line, voice cautious and deep. "This enemy you were fighting, could it have followed you through the portal? Is it a threat to this ship or the planet?" Jason heard the concern. It's as possible. We haven't seen him yet, but his name is Goldar. He is strong and very dangerous. He serves an evil sorceress who... Before Jason could finish the explanation, a new sound reverberated through the forest clearing, interrupting the conversation. It was a distant, echoing roar, like a furious beast awakened. The Rangers tensed, immediately recognizing that growl-like howl. Kimberly clenched her fists. "Goldar," she hissed. From the Enterprise, the bridge crew observed the reaction on the ground via magnified imaging. Even if they couldn't hear the roar from orbit, they saw the body language of the Rangers change, forming up back-to-back in a defensive circle. Jason quickly spoke into his communicator. "Enterprise, we have confirmed sighting her. Hearing. Our enemy is here. Warn your people, he is extremely dangerous." Picard exchanged a quick look with Riker and Worf. This Goldar must be the presence Troy had sensed. Riker was already moving. "Captain, request permission to lead an away team down there. If this Goldar is as dangerous as they say, those people might need help." Troy stood as well. "Captain, I sense sudden spikes of anger and malice nearby them. Something is definitely there with them." Picard nodded sharply. "Agreed. Number 1, take Worf and Data, and Dr. Beverly Crusher. If these Rangers or anyone are injured, medical assistance might be needed. But be careful. We still don't know much about this Goldar or the full situation," Riker acknowledged. "Understood. We'll beam down a safe distance from their location and approach to assist." He hurried to the turbo lift with Worf and Data on his heels, Worf pausing to grab a Type 3 phaser rifle from a weapons locker. Dr. Beverly Crusher was already on her way to the transporter room, medical kit in hand, having been alerted by the bridge. Within minutes, in the transporter room, Riker, Worf, Data, and Crusher assembled on the pad. The chief transporter operator set coordinates based on the Clearing S location relative to the Rangers. In a shimmer of gold light, the away team dematerialized, then rematerialized on the Planet S surface a few hundred meters from the crash site. Jason and the others, meanwhile, had formed a defensive stance at the edge of the clearing. Goldar's roar echoed again, this time closer. Birds erupted from the trees, frightened into the sky. The ground thumped with heavy footfalls approaching through the forest. Zack twirled his power axe in readiness. "Come on, Goldar, show yourself," he muttered under his breath. Trees at the edge of the clearing suddenly snapped like twigs as a hulking figure burst forth. Goldar emerged, brandishing his massive broadsword. At human scale, he stood easily 7 feet tall, his simian face twisted in a snarl beneath a golden armored jackal-like helmet. His great bat-like wings were unfurled, glinting gold, and his red eyes glowed with fury. He had been enraged by the unexpected journey through the portal, and even more so upon seeing the familiar outlines of the Ranger's Megazord crashed in front of him. "You meddling power brats," Goldar growled, pointing his sword toward them. "You think you can escape me? I don't know where we are, but it will be your grave." He stomped forward, each step making the ground tremble slightly thanks to his dense armor and brute strength. Jason stepped forward, sword ready, flanked by his team. "Goldar, it's over. Stand down now, or we'll make you stand down," he shouted, voice echoing through his helmet amplifier. Goldar threw back his head and let out a harsh laugh. "You are in no position to threaten me, Red Ranger. Your Megazord looks like it has taken a beating." and without it, he swung his blade through the air demonstrably. "You were just 5 gnats for me to crush." Without further preamble, Goldar charged. He closed the distance with surprising speed for someone his size. The Rangers met him head-on. Jason blocked Goldar's initial sword strike with his own blade, the clang of metal on metal ringing out. Sparks flew from the impact. Goldar's strength was tremendous. Jason grit his teeth as he absorbed the blow, knees buckling slightly into the soft ground. Goldar pressed down, snarling inches from Jason's faceplate, the monster's hot breath fogging the red visor. But Jason's teammates were already springing into action. Zack leapt into the fray, swinging his power axe upward. "Yo, Goldar, hands off!" The axe's energized blade slashed across Goldar's chest armor, causing a burst of sparks. Goldar roared and staggered back from Jason, momentarily off balance. Trini darted in next, her twin power daggers drawn. With fluid grace, she struck at Goldar's side, finding a weak joint in his armor. Goldar howled in pain and swiped an arm at her, but she nimbly ducked away, years of practice and her natural agility saving her from the retaliatory blow. Billy leveled his power lance, extending the dual-pronged weapon and jabbing it forward to keep Goldar at bay as the monster tried to lunge toward Trini. The lance crackled as it connected with Goldar's armored gauntlet, deflecting the strike that would have hit Trini. The Blue Ranger planted his feet, using the lance to push Goldar back further. "Grr, insects!" Goldar spat. He spread his golden wings with a powerful thrust, creating a gust of wind that pushed the Rangers back a step and momentarily blinded them with kicked-up dust. Using that distraction, Goldar shifted his tactic. He lunged not at Jason or Zack, who were directly engaging him, but suddenly spun and bounded toward Kimberly at the flank. Kimberly's eyes widened as Goldar's massive form closed the gap. She backflipped instinctively, narrowly avoiding a downward slash of Goldar's sword that cut a deep gash into the ground where she'd stood a split second before. In mid-flip, Kim pulled out her blade blaster, switching it to gun mode, and fired off a trio of red energy bolts. The blasts hit Goldar squarely in the chest, causing small explosions that made him snarl more in annoyance than pain. Jason regrouped, shouting, "Rangers, power up!" In unison, they each drew their personal weapons again and rushed Goldar from multiple sides, not giving him a single target. Jason struck high with his sword. Zack swung low with his axe. Billy jabbed for any opening. Trini slashed from the side, and Kim leapt and fired arrows from her power bow that she had summoned into her hands. For a moment, the coordinated assault drove Goldar backward. The flurry of hits landed on his armor, showering sparks. A well-placed swipe from Jason's sword got through Goldar's defenses and scraped across the monster's chestplate, leaving a scorched line. Goldar bellowed in frustration, sweeping his wing out to knock Jason aside. The Red Ranger rolled with the hit, coming up kneeling but unhurt. Goldar raised his sword, the blade gathering a crackling aura of dark energy. "Enough!" he roared, slamming the blade into the ground. A shockwave of golden energy rippled out from the impact, catching the 5 Rangers and flinging them off their feet. They hit the ground in various directions with cries of pain. Goldar panted, a feral grin of triumph starting to form as he saw the Rangers momentarily downed. He stalked toward Jason, intending to finish the leader first. "This time, Red Ranger, you all kneel before me!" Jason struggled, the wind knocked out of him from the shockwave. Goldar loomed over him, and kicked away Jason S.'s sword. The monster raised his own massive blade high, both hands gripping the hilt, ready to deliver a crushing blow. A brilliant beam of orange energy suddenly lanced across the clearing, striking Goldar in the shoulder before he could bring the sword down. The blast exploded in a shower of sparks, forcing Goldar to stumble back and snarl in surprise. Another beam sizzled through the air an instant later, hitting the ground near Goldar's feet and sending up a burst of dirt, causing him to hop backward to avoid it. "Over there," Billy shouted, pointing. At the edge of the clearing stood the Enterprise away team Riker and Worf up front, Worf with a phaser rifle pressed against his shoulder, the muzzle smoking from the just-fired shots. Data was beside them with a smaller hand phaser raised, and Dr. Crusher was slightly behind, eyes wide at the sight of Goldar. Worf's deep voice boomed across the distance, amplified by determination. "Step away from them, creature!" Goldar was furious at this new interference. He glared at the Starfleet officers, not recognizing their uniforms or technology. "More gnats coming to be crushed," he shouted. He noted Worf's ridged forehead and Klingon stature. "You dare attack Goldar? You all regret that, whoever you are." Riker motioned for Beverly to stay back, then signaled Data to fan out. He and Worf started advancing cautiously. "We re-allies of the Power Rangers," Riker called out boldly, hoping to draw Goldar's attention fully. "And we want to let you harm anyone here." Goldar laughed a low, menacing chuckle. "Allies? Pathetic. Then you will fall with them." With a powerful push of his legs and a flap of his wings, Goldar launched himself across the clearing at the away team, closing the distance shockingly fast. "Fire!" Riker ordered. He, Worf, and Data all opened up with their phasers. Scarlet and orange beams converged on Goldar. Some struck his armor, sizzling and blasting pieces off his shoulder guard and hip plate. Goldar growled as one beam grazed his face, singing fur. But he kept coming, seemingly shrugging off the hits that would have felled a lesser being. In seconds, Goldar was upon them. He swung his sword in a wide, horizontal arc. Riker and Data ducked under it, but Worf, closest and bravest, tried to block with the rifle. The sword's edge sheared through the weapon, slicing it in half and throwing Worf to the ground from the force. Sparks erupted from the destroyed rifle in Worf's hands. Worf rolled away, drawing his Type 2 hand phaser as a backup, but Goldar aimed a brutal kick at him while he was down. Worf caught the full force on his side and was sent sprawling with a pained grunt, his phaser skittering from his grasp. "Worf!" Riker shouted, firing continuously at Goldar's back to draw him off. Data moved with lightning speed, rushing behind Goldar. In a feat of android strength, Data grabbed Goldar's free arm, trying to restrain him. Goldar was momentarily surprised by the android's power as Data managed to hold his arm back, preventing a follow-up strike at Worf. "Curious toy," Goldar spat, recognizing Data was not a normal human. The monster swung back his head, smashing his hard golden helmet into Data's face. The blow would have killed a human, but Data merely staggered, releasing Goldar's arm as synthetic skin tore on his forehead. Goldar followed up by hurling his elbow into Data's chest, sending the android tumbling backward with enough force to dent his internal plating. Data hit the ground but recovered swiftly, internal systems compensating. This diversion was enough time for the Rangers to regroup. Jason had recovered his sword. He and Zack sprinted toward Goldar from behind, while Kimberly took aim with her bow from a distance, notching an energized arrow. Just as Goldar raised his sword to bring it down on Riker, who was still peppering him with phaser blasts, Jason and Zack struck in tandem. Jason slashed at Goldar's legs, and Zack hammered down on Goldar's back with the blunt end of his power axe. Goldar roared in pain and swung around, turning his attention back to the Rangers. Riker quickly moved to Worf's side, helping the Klingon to his feet. Worf was bruised and winded, but not out of the fight. Fury burned in his eyes at being bested so easily. Dr. Crusher emerged from her cover behind a fallen log, scanning to see if anyone was critically hurt, but realized they were still in full combat. She ducked back out of the way, tapping her comm badge. Crusher to Enterprise. We have hostile contact. One large hostile. We could use reinforcements if available. The comm line crackled, perhaps interference from the anomaly or the distance, but she couldn't tell if her message got through. In orbit on the Enterprise bridge, they watched via sensors as the fight unfolded. Picard was on his feet, tense. Hearing Beverly-S call, he turned to the tactical officer who had taken over Worf's station. Lock on photon torpedoes to that position, but hold for my command. Our people are too close for an orbital strike. The tactical officer nodded, hands flying over controls. Picard knew an orbital barrage was a last resort, but he wanted the option ready. Back on the ground, Goldar found himself embattled on multiple fronts now. The Rangers were pressing him fiercely, and the Starfleet officers, Riker with his phaser, and now Data back in the fray, were not relenting either. Kimberly released her arrow. It streaked across the clearing with a pink contrail of energy and struck Goldar in the torso. The arrow exploded, staggering Goldar forward. Trini seized the moment and with a Ki shout, leapt into a flying kick that planted squarely on Goldar's chest where the arrow had hit. The impact pushed Goldar further, making him drop to one knee. "Now, everyone together!" Jason yelled. The 5 Rangers converged, weapons drawn. Power Rangers, Power Blaster formation. In a practiced blur, they combined their weapons. Zack's axe transformed into a stabilizer and cannon base. Billy and Trini placed their lance and daggers. As barrel and support, Kimberly leapt back, balancing and drawing back the energy bowstring on her bow, now mounted atop the other weapons, and Jason locked his power sword in place as the final focusing conduit. Together, their 5 weapons formed the imposing Power Blaster, a combined artillery weapon crackling with multicolored energy. The Starfleet team instinctively backed away as they saw the Rangers assemble this strange contraption that hummed with power. Riker's eyes widened. What in the world? Goldar, still kneeling, shook his head to clear it and saw the Rangers aiming a truly intimidating weapon at him. He began to brace himself, trying to raise his sword defensively. The Rangers didn't give him the chance. "Fire!" Jason and Kimberly shouted at once. A brilliant beam of combined red, blue, yellow, pink, and black energy erupted from the Power Blaster, lancing out with a thunderous boom. Goldar managed to hurl himself to the side at the last possible moment. The combined blast grazed his armor, but mostly streaked past, striking the ground a few meters beyond him. There, the energy detonated in a massive explosion that flattened trees and sent a geyser of dirt and flames skyward. The shockwave rippled out, knocking everyone, friend and foe alike, off their feet and rattling even the fallen Megazord behind them. Goldar was blown clear by the blast, his armor smoking as he crashed somewhere beyond the tree line with a heavy thud. The Rangers were thrown back too, landing hard on the ground. Worf and Riker shielded Crusher as debris pattered around them. Data was sprawled awkwardly, but unharmed. For a moment, everything was still. The quiet was broken only by the distant crackling of fires in the forest and the ragged breathing of the combatants recovering their wind. Jason sat up, shaken. "Everyone okay?" Around him, each ranger signaled they were alive, if a bit battered. Riker helped Beverly up, then offered a hand to Worf, who grunted a thanks. Data stood, patting out a small flame that had caught on his sleeve. They all looked around. There was no sign of Goldar returning. The clearing was a mess of scorched earth and splintered trees. If Goldar had survived that blast, he had apparently decided to retreat for now and lick his wounds. Zack lowered the combined weapon, and the Rangers disassembled their gear, returning each piece to its owner in a swift motion. "Did we get him?" Zack asked hopefully. Kimberly gazed toward the trees where Goldar had been flung. Her sharp eyes scanned for movement. "I don't see him, but knowing Goldar, he is probably not done yet. He has run off for now." Trini exhaled, trying to calm her racing heart. "At least we bought some time, and he is not breathing down our necks." It was then that the Rangers and the Starfleet away team properly faced each other. Both groups had just fought side by side, but the surrealness of the situation now settled in. 5 colorful, helmeted heroes and 4 uniformed Starfleet officers standing amidst the wreckage of battle on an alien world. Jason stepped forward, removing his helmet as a gesture of trust and courtesy. He tucked it under his arm, revealing the face of a young man, barely in his 20s, with dark hair matted to his forehead, with sweat and dirt and earnest brown eyes. He gave a small, respectful nod to the newcomers. "Thanks for the save. We couldn't have handled Goldar as quickly without you." Riker, slightly astonished to see how young Jason was, managed a friendly smile. "We're just glad we could help. I am Commander William Riker of the Enterprise. These are Lieutenant Worf, Lieutenant Commander Data, and Dr. Beverly Crusher." The away team each gave a polite nod or small wave. Worf, bruised but stoic, eyed the Rangers with a mix of respect and curiosity. Data examined the unusual outfits and gear with keen interest, while Dr. Crusher was already glancing over the Rangers to check for injuries. Jason introduced himself and each of his teammates in turn. Jason Scott, Red Ranger. "This is Zack, Billy, Trini, and Kimberly." As each was named, they gave a little wave or salute. They all removed their helmets now to show their faces sweaty, slightly sooty, but human and thankful. Seeing their youthful faces made Beverly's maternal instincts kick in. These were essentially teenagers thrown into an incredible situation. Beverly stepped forward. "Is anyone hurt? I saw that fight. It was intense. If any of you need medical attention, I am a doctor." Kimberly rubbed her bruised shoulder. "A few bumps and bruises, doctor, but nothing serious, I think. We've been through a lot worse." She flashed a friendly grin, though she was clearly exhausted. Worf picked up the half of his phaser rifle that still hung in his hands, looking almost disappointed at its destruction. He gave an appraising look at the Rangers. "You all fight with great honor," he said, which coming from a Klingon was high praise indeed. Zack couldn't help but smile wide. "Thanks, Mr. Worf. You're pretty strong yourself. I saw you take on Goldar head-on gutsy." Worf actually seemed to stand a bit taller at that. Data approached Billy, who was reassembling his broken glasses. The frame had snapped in the tumble, and he was holding them in place for now. Data extended a hand to shake. Your tactics were impressive. That energy weapon combination most ingenious. I am curious about the technology behind it. Billy shook Data's hand, eyes lighting up at finding someone who appreciated the tech. It's a bit of a long story, but essentially our weapons tap into a power source we call the Morphin Grid. The combination yields exponential power, but it's only effective if all 5 of us are in sync and activated together. Data nodded, fascinated, remarkable. The energy signatures I observed were unlike any in Federation databases. Riker surveyed the clearing, his hands on his hips. Captain Picard will want a full report. We should secure this site and consider getting you and your ship to a safer location. That is, if you trust us enough to help. Jason looked back at the smoldering Megazord and sighed. We don't have much choice. We pretty banged up and stuck here. And from what you've told us, we were far from home. He extended a hand towards Riker. We'd be grateful for any assistance, and we'll help you too, however we can. Goldar is as much a threat to you as to us. Riker clasped Jason's forearm in a friendly shake. All right then, let S get to work. He tapped his comm badge to report, Riker to Enterprise. The hostile has retreated. We've made contact with our visitors. They call themselves the Power Rangers, and they rehuman, sir. They could use a beam out, and their vehicle is damaged. Picard's voice replied after a moment, tinged with relief and curiosity. Acknowledged, number 1. We've been monitoring. Any injuries? A few minor ones, nothing major. But Captain, their vehicle, the Megazord, is too large to beam up easily and is heavily damaged. Perhaps we should attempt repairs on site or find another solution to transport it. Picard considered. We can dispatch engineering teams via shuttle with equipment, but that would take time. Perhaps better to handle immediate debrief on board. Offer our guests to beam up first to discuss the situation. We can figure out the logistics for their machine afterwards. Riker looked at the Rangers. Our captain is inviting you to our ship. We can treat you to some rest and get our heads together about what to do next. The Rangers exchanged glances. A chance to be on a starship from the future and another universe? Despite the gravity of their situation, there was a spark of excitement in their eyes. We'd be honored, Jason said. Trini looked up at the sky where the Enterprise orbited unseen. One thing though, Goldar's still out here. If we leave the Megazord unattended and he returns, Worf growled. If he returns, we'll be ready for him. I will stay with a security detail to guard the Megazord and this site, if you wish, Commander. Riker nodded. Good idea. Data, you stay too. We might need your strength if Goldar comes back. I'll take the Rangers and Dr. Crusher up now. We'll send down engineering support and more security shortly. Jason was reluctant to leave his Zord behind, but with Worf and Data standing by and more help on the way, it seemed as safe as it could be. All right, just be careful. Goldar's cunning. If he can take you in a fight, he might try something sneaky. Worf actually smiled a little, bearing a Klingon canine. Let him try. He will find us more than ready. Billy spoke up. If anything happens, radio us immediately. Our communicators should be compatible with yours now after the link-up we did. He had adjusted their helmet comms to tie into Starfleet's frequency during the fight. Data raised a finger. Actually, I have already taken the liberty of synchronizing your communication devices with our tricorders. We will maintain an open channel. Beverly gestured for the Rangers to gather near Riker and herself. All right, everyone, cluster together. This transport might feel a bit strange if you've never done it." Kimberly looked suddenly nervous. "Transport?" Riker smiled reassuringly. "An easier way to travel than falling through space." "Energize," he said, tapping his comm badge again to signal up. Before the Rangers could ask further, they were enveloped in pillars of shimmering light. A tingling, weightless sensation overtook them. The forest, Worf, Data, the Megazord, and everything around them sparkled and faded out. In the blink of an eye, Jason and his friends found themselves standing in a clean, futuristic chamber aboard the Enterprise. They blinked as the transporter effect faded, solid ground reforming under their feet, albeit an entirely different ground than the forest they had just left. "That was incredible," Zach exclaimed, breaking into a wide grin as he looked around. "Is everyone all here? All atoms accounted for?" He patted himself jokingly. Billy was speechless for a moment, adjusting his glasses. That was a molecular teleportation. "Wow, our tech is nowhere near that level for humans. Alpha 5 is going to be geeking out if he hears about this." Kim nodded, amazed. It was so fast. Way cooler than the teleporters Rita S. henchmen use, and I didn't even feel sick. She recalled how sometimes their enemy S-magic teleportation left a nauseating aura, but this Federation transport felt clean. Trini simply took a breath. "So this is a spaceship in the future," she whispered, eyes shining as she exchanged an astonished look with Jason. Riker and Crusher stepped off the transporter pad with them. 2 Enterprise security crew were in the room, guarding but looking curious at the colorful newcomers. "Welcome aboard the Enterprise," Riker said warmly, gesturing them to follow. "Captain Picard is eager to meet you all in person, and I am sure you have a lot of questions too. Shall we head to the bridge, or perhaps the observation lounge for a briefing?" Jason collected himself. He realized he was effectively the leader representing his team, and by extension, his whole dimension perhaps. "Lead the way, Commander. We're right behind you." As they exited the transporter room into the corridor, the Rangers couldn't help but gawk a little. The halls of the Enterprise were pristine, softly lit with beige and gold tones, a far cry from the steel and concrete they were used to in command centers or the Megazord. Crew members passed by, doing double takes at the costumed youth, but nodding politely. One crewman whispered to another, "Those must be the visitors from the anomaly," as they walked past. The Rangers heard and tried not to feel self-conscious. Dr. Crusher noticed Billy holding his broken glasses. She gently took them. "May I?" From her medical kit, she pulled a small device, a medical scanner with a fine beam, and to Billy's surprise, she fused the broken frame seamlessly. He put the glasses back on, grateful. "Thank you, Doctor," he said. She gave an easy smile. "We can fix broken bones. Glasses are no trouble at all." They stepped into a turbo lift, and Riker commanded, "Bridge." The door swished closed, and the lift hummed. In seconds, the doors opened to reveal the Enterprise bridge. Jason and the others walked out onto the wide, carpeted command center of the Federation flagship. There was the large main view screen, currently showing the planet below. Stations with uniformed officers ringed the perimeter, and in the center, rising from the Captain-S chair, was Captain Picard. He approached with an air of calm authority and a welcoming expression. Picard was in his late 50s, with a bald head and a penetrating gaze, but he carried himself like a man of both wisdom and discipline. "Welcome aboard," he said, voice measured and kind. "Jason and your team, It is a pleasure to meet you in person, or as close to person as circumstances allow." Jason extended a hand, which Picard accepted in a firm handshake. "Captain Picard, thank you for bringing us on board. I am Jason, as you know. This is my team Zach, Billy, Trini, and Kimberly. We re-honored to be here." Each ranger nodded respectfully. Picard noticed their young faces, yet they had just fought with exceptional skill and bravery. He had questions, but first things first. The honor is ours. You've all demonstrated courage and selflessness down there. Now, let S get you comfortable and debrief, shall we? You must be exhausted. Troy stepped forward with a friendly smile. "Perhaps they would like something to eat or drink as well, Captain. They've been through a lot." At the mention of food, Zach's stomach rumbled loudly enough that Kimberly snickered. Zach rubbed the back of his neck. "Ha, sorry. I guess interdimensional travel and fighting monsters works up an appetite." Picard chuckled softly. "Of course. Let us retire to the observation lounge. We can arrange refreshments there and discuss our next course of action." He gestured and led them off the bridge into a large conference room with a long table and a stunning panoramic window that currently showed the curve of the planet and the star field beyond. The Rangers found themselves momentarily distracted by the breathtaking sight of space from orbit. "This is unreal," Kimberly murmured, peering out. "Look at that Earth, but not Earth." Trini laid a hand on Kim's shoulder, supportively. All of them felt a pang, then the realization of how far from home they were, if they could ever get back. The stars beyond were foreign. They took seats around the table. Picard sat at one end, Riker at his right. Troy took a seat near Picard, observing the Rangers kindly. Beverly had accompanied them as well. A moment later, a young crewman arrived with a tray. Apparently word had been sent ahead to bring some refreshments. There were jugs of water, some alien-looking fruits, and at Picard's nod, the crewman demonstrated a food replicator on the wall. "We can provide various Earth foods, within reason. Any requests?" The team looked at each other. Zach boldly asked, "Got any pizza? Fighting evil always made us crave a slice back home." The crewman grinned. "Computer, one large pepperoni pizza, Earth-style, New York thin crust, hot." In a shimmer of light, a steaming pizza on a tray materialized inside a compartment. The Ranger's jaws dropped. Billy nearly fell out of his chair in surprise. "Fascinating. You synthesized it the molecular replication of matter Geordi LaForge had entered," and heard Billy's exclamation. He stepped forward, introducing himself. "Geordi LaForge, Chief Engineer. And yes, our replicators can conjure up just about any food you like by rearranging matter." Kim eagerly took the pizza as it was brought to the table. "This ship gets cooler by the minute," she giggled, passing slices around. Picard allowed them a few minutes to eat and drink. Though time was of the essence with Goldar on the loose in a dimensional rift nearby, he recognized the importance of letting his young guests recuperate and feel at ease enough to share information. After they had eaten a little and some color had returned to their faces, Picard cleared his throat gently. "Now then, perhaps you can tell us a bit more fully who you are and what brought you here. We know the basics. You call yourselves Power Rangers, from Earth, fighting a being named Goldar in your own world, when an anomaly brought you and he here. But context would help." Jason wiped his mouth with a provided napkin and nodded. "Of course, Captain." He sat up straight, the posture of a leader giving a report. The others gave him encouraging looks to go ahead. We re from a city on Earth called Angel Grove, in what we believe is another reality separate from this one. In our world, we were chosen by a wise being named Zordon to become the Power Rangers and protect Earth from a villain named Rita Repulsa and her minions. Rita is an alien sorceress who was imprisoned for thousands of years and escaped to conquer Earth. She regularly sends monsters to attack our city and try to defeat us. We fight back using the power Zordon gave us, which are tied to something called the Morphin Grid. It's a sort of cosmic energy field that we channel to morph into these suits and wield extraordinary abilities. Billy chimed in to help clarify, seeing the intrigued expressions. Think of the Morphin Grid as a subspace intersection of bioenergy and morphic energy. Our power coins these. He held out a round coin-like object embossed with a triceratops symbol, which he kept in a slot in his belt. Connect us to that grid and grant us enhanced strength, speed, durability, and our weapons. Each of us has one aligned with a prehistoric creature theme. Zach took over, pointing a thumb at himself. I got the mastodon, gives me the power axe, and apparently the ability to bust. Some pretty funky moves in a fight. He grinned. Trini smiled and went on. Saber-toothed tiger for me, with power daggers that can cut through almost anything. Kimberly twirled a strand of her hair and added, pterodactyl here. I get the power bow, long-range attacks. Jason finished, and I am Tyrannosaurus with the power sword. Together, beyond our individual powers, we have assault vehicles we call Zords, each modeled after those creatures. They can operate independently, but when things get tough, we bring them together into one giant robot, the Megazord, which you saw. It is our ultimate fighting machine. Geordi and Troy exchanged astonished glances, while Picard took this in with a thoughtful nod. Troy was focusing on their emotions. She felt no deceit, only earnestness. They truly believed every word, and it resonated as truth. Geordi whistled. So you were like a special team of superpowered defenders. Teenagers, no less. That is pretty wild. No offense. Kim laughed lightly. None taken. We didn't believe it at first either when we were chosen, but we take our duty seriously. We might joke around, but when it comes down to it, we'll do anything to keep people safe. Picard appreciated that sentiment. Admirable. Now, this Goldar and the person he serves, Rita. What can you tell us about them? Trini's face grew more serious. Goldar is one of Rita's top henchmen. He is strong, ruthless, but not very bright. However, he lives to serve Rita's will. Rita herself is extremely dangerous. She uses dark magic, and she is cunning. She finds our weaknesses and exploits them. We've defeated her plans many times, but she always comes back with something new. Billy continued. Rita has technology too well. It seems like magic to us sometimes, but clearly she can open portals, create monsters, make them grow giant-sized to battle our Zords. She had trapped our mentor Zordon in a time warp and sends her minions from her base on our moon. Worf, still on the planet, chimed in via communicator that Data and he were hearing everything too and relaying any relevant sensor info. Data's voice came through the comm badge on the table. Pardon the interruption, Captain. From their description, Rita Repulsa appears to have capabilities that include interdimensional manipulation, which likely caused the anomaly we observed. I am attempting to analyze residual energy at the site. It does show traces of exotic particles consistent with some kind of dimensional displacement technology, possibly magic, as they call it. Picard acknowledged Data, then asked the Rangers, So Rita likely created the portal that sent you here. Why would she do that? Was it intentional to send you away? Or a side effect of something? Jason frowned. It might have been a plan to get rid of us. We were in the Megazord fighting Goldar. Rita was on the offensive that day. She said something about banishing us to the end of the universe. Next thing we knew, the portal opened. It sucked us in, and Goldar too, I guess, and flung us out here. If her goal was to remove her biggest obstacle, us, from her world, she might think she's succeeded. Kimberly S.'s eyes went wide with realization. If that S true, Rita might be free to wreak havoc on Earth without us there to stop her. Zack slammed a fist into his palm. Man, that is not good. Zordon will try to find replacements if we can return soon, but who knows what S happening back home right now. Seeing their distress, Troy intervened gently. We'll do everything we can to help you get home. I'm sure your mentor and friends will hold the line until you return. Picard nodded firmly. Indeed. Right now, though, Goldar is here, with us, in our universe. And that means our world is in danger too. We have to handle that first, then find a way to get you back to yours. Now Goldar appears to have survived the fight. We should consider our options. Security and sensors are tracking for his energy signature. Worf's voice came through. Captain, we have not seen sign of Goldar yet. It appears he retreated beyond our immediate sensor range in the forest. Engineering teams have arrived planetside and are assisting with securing the Megazord and setting up a perimeter. If Goldar returns, we will be ready, Geordi added. Captain, I'd like to go down and inspect the Megazord's damage. I think I might be able to help get it operational, at least partially. A 40-meter fighting robot could be pretty handy if that Goldar comes back bigger or with friends. Jason smiled appreciatively. Thank you, Geordi. We would be grateful for any help getting our Megazord back on its feet. Picard agreed. Very well. LaForge, coordinate with the Rangers' tech knowledge. Perhaps Billy or one of you should go with him to assist and advise. Billy immediately volunteered. I'll go. I know the Megazord systems inside out. With your advanced engineering tech, maybe we can jury-rig something quickly. Geordi grinned. Sounds like a plan, Blue Ranger. Billy stood and nodded to Jason, who gave him a thumbs up. Good luck, man. Riker decided to accompany them. I'll go too, Captain. If Goldar shows up, I'd rather have an extra hand down there. Picard gave his first officer a proud look. Be careful, number one, and keep us informed. As Riker and Geordi led Billy out, Billy paused only to reclaim his helmet from the table. The remaining Rangers and Enterprise officers continued the strategy session. Data's voice updated. Captain, I have completed a preliminary analysis of the anomaly. It is stabilized somewhat since the initial surge, but remains open, like a wound in space. It is currently hovering in the upper atmosphere of the planet, not visible to the naked eye now, but detectable. There's a risk it could expand or collapse unpredictably. Beverly asked, if it collapses, could it trap them here or worse? Data replied, uncertain. If it collapses naturally, it might simply vanish, leaving them stranded. If it expands wildly, it could cause a spatial rift disaster, affecting a wide area. We may need to intentionally stabilize or close it once we decide how to proceed. Picard turned to the Rangers. We have some of the best minds on the ship working on how to send you back through that anomaly safely. But the more pressing concern is Goldar. If he is at large, he may try to... What would he do in this scenario? Would he hide or continue his mission of destruction in any world he is in? Zack answered, Goldar is no genius, but he is not likely to stay hidden. He thrives on causing fear and smashing things. If he is stranded here away from Rita, he'll either be trying to find a way back to her or trying to impress her by conquering whatever he finds here. So my guess, he'll want to establish dominance, probably by attacking anything he thinks could be a threat or a trophy, Trini added with concern. Like possibly your ship, or if there are any colonists or settlements on that planet or beyond. Picard's jaw set. The planet below is uninhabited, which is fortunate. There are no colonies near enough for him to attack immediately, but there's us. The Enterprise would be a tempting target for such a creature, especially if he perceives us as allies of his foes. Kimberly had a thought. He's seen the Enterprise from a distance at least. If he figures that where we went, he might come looking. Goldar can survive in space for a short time. If he has grown giant, we've seen monsters survive in vacuum, briefly when enlarged by Rita's magic. But at his human size, I think he'd need transport or to piggyback on something. Troy furrowed her brow. I still sense his anger out there. It is unfocused at the moment, like he is trying to decide on a course. But it's getting stronger again. I fear he is planning something. On the planet, Goldar indeed was regrouping. Miles from the clearing, in a rocky canyon beyond the forest, he had crashed hard and lay in a crater of his own making. Now he rose, battered, but far from beaten. His golden armor was scuffed and smoking, cracks spider-webbing across the plating. He snarled in frustration, thinking back to the humiliating retreat forced by those accursed Rangers and their unexpected new friends. Humans in strange uniforms wielding weapons that hurt him. He hadn't expected that. This world was confusing. No Rita to give commands, no familiar fortress or backup. But Goldar still had his sword and his burning desire to crush the Rangers. He climbed out of the crater, growling as he assessed his injuries. Nothing fatal, just painful. The forest around him was quiet. He flexed his wings. One was sprained from the explosion, so flying would be difficult, but perhaps not impossible. Goldar gazed up at the sky. He could faintly make out the glint of the starship above, a speck moving across the heavens. The Rangers had gone up there with those people, he was certain, cowardly whelps hiding behind new allies. A low chuckle escaped him. If the Rangers were with those people, then all he had to do was get up to that ship, and he could take them all out at once. Perhaps he could capture the ship. Imagine presenting an entire starship as a gift to Empress Rita. That would surely please her, maybe enough to come retrieve him. Yes, that would be his plan. Goldar tapped a control on his gauntlet. Rita's forces often had personal teleporters for short-range moves. How else could they appear and disappear so dramatically? But he was dismayed to find it shattered, likely in the blast. It sparked feebly. No teleport for now. He would have to get to the Enterprise the hard way. Goldar set off at a run, back toward the clearing, staying within the cover of trees to avoid visual detection from above. Perhaps he could find something there, maybe that shuttle he saw landing with more humans. Or he could hijack some piece of Ranger tech. As Goldar vanished into the woods on the Enterprise, Picard had decided to divide tasks. Troy and I will remain on the bridge to coordinate sensor readings. We should be ready in case Goldar attempts to approach the ship or do anything unexpected. Doctor, Please have sickbay prepared for possible casualties, and also consider if Goldar has any biological factors. We should know, though, from what I saw, he's heavily armored and maybe not even fully organic? Jason nodded. Goldar's a mix. He's a life form, but he's like an alien with magical enhancements. Standard medicine. Probably he's like a big tough alien physically. Crusher acknowledged and left for sickbay to prep. Zach, Kimberly, and Trini, Picard continued. I think you three might want to rejoin your friend Billy on the surface to help with repairs and be in position should Goldar return there. Jason interjected. What about me, Captain? Picard gave a soft smile. I'd like you to stay up here with me for the moment. As the leader of your team, you and I may need to liaise quickly with both the ground team and the ship's crew. And if Goldar somehow comes after the Enterprise, having one of you here could be invaluable. Jason agreed, though he was reluctant to be away from any fight. Understood. Trini put a hand on Jason's arm. Don't worry, we'll handle things down there. And if anything happens up here, you handle it. We've got each other's backs no matter the distance. Kimberly added cheerfully. Besides, if we break something on the Megazord trying to fix it, Billy will need Jason not to see that. She teased lightly to ease Jason's tension. He smirked, just donned to scratch the paint. Zach, Trini, and Kimberly donned their helmets and prepared to beam back down. Within moments, they were on the transporter pad and dematerialized back to the surface, where Geordi, Billy, Riker, and several engineers were already working on the Megazord. On the planet, Billy was in his element, though very aware of the looming forest. He had pulled open a large service hatch in the Megazord's leg and was tinkering with exposed circuits, while Geordi held a tricorder scanning device and offered suggestions. Two engineering crew were hauling over a portable generator. Riker stood guard nearby with a fresh phaser rifle, scanning the tree line, while a half-dozen gold-shirted security officers formed a perimeter. When Zach, Trini, and Kimberly appeared in 3 columns of light, Riker jogged over. Glad to have more of you back. No sign of Goldar yet, but I don't like waiting for him. Kimberly surveyed the sky, visible through the gap in the canopy. If I were Goldar, I'd go for the biggest thing around that he could break, and that's likely the Enterprise. We should hurry with these repairs. Zach cracked his knuckles. What can we do? Lift heavy stuff? We great at that. Billy looked up from the leg internals. Zach, could you help that team over there? He pointed to where some engineers were trying to reposition the Megazord's dislodged knee joint with an anti-grav lift. They need some manual force aligning it before we bolt it in place. On it, Zach trotted off to assist, impressive in his black suit. Trini, meanwhile, joined Geordi and Billy. What's the status? Geordi answered. We were trying to get basic power back so this thing can move. The warp ear, whatever power source you use, was completely offline. We've routed one of our generators to supply minimal power. Billy is working on bypassing some damaged control pathways. If we can get it standing, that's a good start. Billy wiped his brow under the helmet. I'll need to recalibrate the servos and see if the Morphin grid link is still intact. Our Zords are powered partially by that grid energy. Without a connection, the Megazord is basically a big statue. But I think it's still there, just very faint. Like having 1 bar of signal. Trini nodded. 1 bar is better than none. Maybe if all 5 of us rejoin in the cockpit, our presence could boost the connection. It might be like jump-starting it with our own Morphin energy. Geordi's visor-covered eyes looked between them. Your powers could energize the machine, Billy pondered. The power coins in our suits are kind of like keys and batteries all in one. When we re-inside our Zords, our connection to the morphin grid actively powers them. We were yanked out mid-battle, so maybe the bond is weak right now. But if we all link up in the cockpit again and focus, we might channel enough power to get systems online. Riker, overhearing as he paced by, added, "We should do that sooner rather than later. I have a feeling our friend might not stay away much longer." Even as he said that, one of the security officers called out, "Commander, something S triggering motion sensors on the perimeter." Everyone tensed. Riker hurried to the Officer S portable scanner device. "Where?" The officer pointed towards the thick woods north of their position. "There, 40 meters out. Could just be local fauna, but reading is large." Riker aimed his rifle, and the security team formed up, weapons ready. The Rangers gathered, ready to fight, though Billy and Geordi stayed by the Megazord working frantically on the last of the fixes. The forest fell silent, unnaturally so, as if every creature sensed the predator moving among them. Riker signaled the engineers to fall back to cover. Suddenly, a guttural shout echoed. "Now I have you!" Goldar burst from the foliage, swinging downward with his sword. He had crept close under cover and targeted one of the security officers at the edge. The unfortunate man barely had time to scream before Goldar's flat blade side swatted him brutally, sending him flying into a tree. He collapsed unconscious, armor dented, but fortunately alive due to the armor absorbing most of the lethal cut. "Open fire!" Riker yelled, unleashing a barrage. Phaser beams and projectile stun blasts from security rifles converged on Goldar. The monster howled as hits scorched his armor and flesh, but adrenaline and rage kept him advancing. Goldar barreled into 2 more security personnel before they could disperse, knocking them aside like bowling pins. Trini and Zack intercepted him next. Trini's daggers flashed in the dim underbrush light as she lunged at Goldar's flank, stabbing at a gap in his thigh armor. She connected, drawing a spray of blackish blood and a roar of pain from Goldar. Zack came from the opposite side, swinging his axe downward, two-handed like a hammer. Goldar blocked with his forearm bracer, the axe clanging hard. Goldar responded with a backhand that caught Zack in the chest and flung him backward. Zack hit the ground breathlessly. Kimberly somersaulted over a bush, firing her blade blaster in gun mode rapidly. The red bolts peppered Goldar's face and chest, distracting him from following up on Zack. Enraged, he turned and hurled his sword like a spear at Kim. She yelped and twisted aside. The blade grazed her shoulder armor, narrowly missing a lethal hit, and pinned into a tree trunk behind her. Unarmed now, Goldar seemed not to care. He rushed Kimberly with his claws extended, but Riker stepped in, placing himself between Goldar and Kim, and unleashed point-blank phaser blasts at Goldar's chest. "Run!" he urged Kim while peppering Goldar. Goldar winced under the at-close range assault, smoke rising from his chest plate, but he wrapped a massive hand around Riker's phaser rifle and crushed it like tin foil, yanking it out of the commander's grip. Worf would have appreciated the sheer brutality of it, Riker thought fleetingly, just before Goldar's fist came around and connected with Riker's torso. The blow was like being hit by a cannonball. Riker flew back, tumbling across the dirt. "Commander!" Geordi shouted from near the Megazord leg, torn between helping Riker and finishing connecting the generator feeds. Trini engaged Goldar again, slashing at his back to draw him from finishing Riker. "Pick on someone your own size," she cried. Goldar whirled, backhanding Trini's daggers aside and grabbing her by the throat in a lightning move. Trini gagged as Goldar lifted her one-handed off the ground. Kim and Zack simultaneously attacked to free her. Kim whipped out her power bow and fired an arrow that struck Goldar's arm, and Zack delivered a flying kick to Goldar's side. The combined impact made Goldar snarl and drop Trini, who fell and rolled away, gasping for air. At the Megazord, Billy hissed to Geordi, "That has got it. System should be stable enough now." They had rerouted power successfully. The Megazord's eyes lit up with a faint glow. Geordi slapped his comm badge. "LaForge to Enterprise. Goldar has engaged us. Rangers are holding, but we could use backup. Megazord is nearly operational." Above, Picard heard this and responded, "Understood. We relocking on to beam up injured personnel and send additional security. And stand by, number 1's life sign is weak. I am beaming him directly to sickbay." Geordi glanced and indeed saw Riker, unconscious on the ground, glow and vanish in a transporter beam, headed to sickbay. A second later, the previously hit security officer also dematerialized out to safety. Billy yelled to his friends, "Guys, Megazord is ready. We need to form up now." Zack flipped away from Goldar's reach and called out, "Cover us for a sec," to the security team. The remaining 3 security officers laid down cover fire, blasting at Goldar from different angles, making him spin about in fury. Trini, Kim, and Zack sprinted toward the Megazord's hatch, where Billy and Geordi were already climbing up the entry ramp. Goldar realized what they were doing. "Oh no, you don't!" he roared. He spread his wings with a fierce effort, launching into a leap that propelled him in their direction. Before he could reach them, though, a new barrage of energy blasts slammed into him from above. The Enterprise had sent down a pair of armed security drones and an orbital phaser lance on low power. Red beams lanced into Goldar's path, forcing him to veer and shield himself. This gave the Rangers enough time. All 4 now scrambled into the cockpit. "Billy, status?" Zack huffed, strapping in. Billy's hands flew over controls, reinitializing interfaces. Come on, yes. We have power. It is not full, but it all do," Trini shouted. "Jason, we could use you about now," into her helmet comm. On the Enterprise bridge, Jason had been pacing anxiously as they monitored. The moment he heard Trini's voice, he was already imploring Picard with his eyes. Picard gave a quick nod. "Transporter room, lock onto the remaining Ranger on board and beam him directly to his Team-S coordinates." "Aye, Captain," came the reply, and before Jason could express his thanks, he disappeared in a swirl of light. Milliseconds later, Jason materialized right inside the Megazord cockpit in the empty central seat. He arrived mid-stride and nearly fell forward, but caught the console. Relief washed over his team's faces as the Red Ranger rejoined them. "Miss me?" he quipped, sliding into his chair and snapping on his harness. He immediately grabbed the main controls, and the familiarity of his station empowered him. "All right, team, let S do this. It S Morphin timer. Let S power up." With all 5 Rangers back in place, a surge of Morphin grid energy flowed into the Megazord-S systems. Lights that were flickering steadied, and the mighty robot-S limbs twitched, responding to commands. Outside, Goldar had recovered from the surprise blasts. He saw the Megazord stirring and flew into a panicked rage. He ran at the robot S form, punching at its leg, trying to damage it further before it could fully reactivate. Inside, the Rangers felt the impact shudder through their cabin. "Megazord at 50 power and rising," Billy reported. "Manual control responsive. Let S take this fight up a notch." "Right," Jason agreed, initiating Megazord battle mode. With mechanical whirs and clanks, the Dino Megazord, which had been kneeling, began to stand. Goldar scrabbled back as the huge machine lumbered to its full height, towering over the trees once more. Even at partial power, it was an imposing sight, a steel giant coming to life. Goldar stepped back, hate in his eyes, but also caution. "You think your tinkin will save you? I'll rip it apart again." He ran forward, retrieving his sword from the tree where it stuck, and slashed at the Megazord-S leg. Inside, Zack read the damage sensors. Minor armor scuffs, nothing major. Let S show him what a tinkin can do. "Jason?" Jason grinned under his helmet. "With pleasure." "All right, let S give Goldar a taste of his own medicine." He triggered the Megazord-S left arm to swing. Outside, the Megazord backhanded Goldar away from its leg with a giant sweep of its arm. Goldar flew backward, smashing through a few trees. But Goldar wasn't down yet. He flapped his wings to right himself and charged again, leaping and slashing at the Megazord-S chest. Sparks flew, but the Megazord held firm. Kimberly looked at their power levels. "We can't keep this up too long. Power is draining." Billy nodded, fingers dancing on controls to optimize energy flow. "I am diverting auxiliary power to servos. Maybe we should finish this quickly." Trini seconded that. "Agreed. Let S use the Megazord-S finishing move while we still have juice." Jason S. eyes narrowed as he watched Goldar readying another swing on the external cams. "Time to end this. Power sword, now!" The Rangers hit the command in unison. The Megazord-S eyes flashed, and as if responding to their combined will, a beam of light shot down from the sky. From the heavens, the Megazord-S immense sword manifested a great blade shimmering with energy. The Megazord caught the descending power sword in its metal hand, brandishing it in a flourish. Goldar snarled, momentarily hesitant. He remembered this part from past fights, the Megazord-S finishing strike. But in the past, Rita always had a way to save him or retreat. Here, he was alone. Yet his pride and rage wouldn't let him flee. With a ferocious cry, Goldar raised his sword and leapt, aiming to deliver a massive blow onto the Megazord-S head. The giant robot intercepted him. The Megazord-S sword met Goldar-S in midair with a thunderous clang, stopping Goldar-S attack cold. The two blades sizzled, locked in struggle. Goldar-S dark energy versus the Power Sword-S charged might. Inside, the Rangers poured all remaining power into the strike. "Full power now," Jason commanded. The Megazord-S engines roared, arms trembling as it began to overpower Goldar. Slowly, inexorably, the Power Sword pushed Goldar-S blade back. Goldar strained, muscles bulging, but the colossal strength of the Megazord backed by 5 united Rangers was too much. With one final surge, the Megazord flung Goldar off, breaking the sword lock. Before Goldar could recover, the Megazord drew its sword back. The Rangers shouted as one, "Megazord slash!" They swung the Power Sword in a wide, gleaming arc that struck Goldar dead on. Time seemed to slow. Goldar-S eyes went wide as the blade cleaved into him, releasing a brilliant explosion of energy. A massive fireball erupted around Goldar-S form. The shockwave blew outward, flattening any remaining standing trees nearby and causing the Megazord to brace itself. on the Enterprise bridge, they saw the explosion from orbit as a bright flare on the planet's surface. Sensor readings of Goldar's life sign spiked and then vanished in the glare. The dust settled. The forest clearing was now a smoking ruin of charred stumps and cratered ground. In the center, the Megazord stood tall, its armor scorched but still intact, power sword in hand planted into the earth for support. Of Goldar, there was no sign at first, but then, as the smoke cleared more, they saw him. Goldar lay on the ground, a few hundred feet from the Megazord, battered and bloody. His golden armor was shattered in places, wings torn. He was attempting to crawl, to stand, but failing. His sword was broken in two, lying useless by his side. Inside the Megazord, the Rangers were breathing hard, but already feeling the victory. "We got him," Zack said triumphantly. "Power levels dropping to critical," warned Billy. The fight had taken the last juice. Jason nodded, slumping slightly in relief. "It's okay. We redone here. Goldar is down for the count." Trini looked at the external monitors with a mix of pity and resolve. "He's still alive. We should restrain him if we can. Not sure how your Federation handles prisoners from other dimensions, but we can't let him hurt anyone else." Kimberly agreed. "Better call the captain, Jason." Jason opened a channel. "Jason to Enterprise. Goldar has been defeated. He's badly injured, but alive. We need a containment team or something. Also, our Megazord is out of power and basically stuck until we can recharge properly." Picard's voice answered with great relief. "Understood, Jason. Well done, all of you. We'll send a security detachment with containment gear immediately. Stand by." True to his word, moments later, several more figures beamed down near the clearing. Worf himself led them, having insisted on returning planetside now that the immediate threat was contained. He carried heavy-duty restraints. Behind him was a science team with containment field generators and medical personnel. Goldar offered feeble resistance as Worf and two security officers rolled him onto his back and clamped energy shackles on his arms and legs. "Curse you," Goldar rasped weakly, glaring up at the Rangers who had by then exited the Megazord and gathered around, helmets off to catch fresh air. Jason looked down at his longtime foe. "It's over, Goldar. You've lost." Goldar bared his fangs, coughing. "Finish it then, humans. I'll never surrender," Worf growled. "Quiet, prisoner. You will answer to Captain Picard now, and perhaps to your own justice when you were returned to whence you came." At the mention of returning, Goldar managed a defiant laugh that dissolved into a wince of pain. "Rita will avenge me, you all see. She will conquer your pathetic worlds." Kimberly rolled her eyes. Still the same charmer, even in defeat. The science team erected a portable containment field around Goldar, an energy bubble that would hold him secure and dampen any powers. Dr. Crusher, who had transported down with them, scanned Goldar's vitals from just outside the field. He'll live, though he might not enjoy it for a while. Multiple fractures, internal injuries. This Goldar has an impressive constitution to even be conscious. Meanwhile, Geordi and the engineers powered down the Megazord safely, now that it was upright and stable. They would plan to transport it to the Enterprise-S hangar bay in sections, or via cargo transporters for further repair later. The Rangers grouped together, adrenaline ebbing, and the reality of victory sinking in. They had done it. They had beaten Goldar, in an alien universe no less, with new friends at their side. Jason turned to Worf and extended a hand. Lieutenant Worf, I presume. Worf, still bloodied from earlier and quite disheveled, but standing proud, clasped forearms with Jason. Yes, you fight with honor, Jason, all of you. He nodded to the team. Kahless himself would sing battle songs of warriors like you. Zach grinned. I am not sure who Kahless is, but if he's a fan of butt-kicking, sign me up. Worf actually let out a throaty chuckle. Perhaps one day I will tell you of him. High praise coming from Worf to outsiders. One of the scientists approached Billy and Geordi. We ready to bring the Megazord up to the ship in parts or whole, Chief. It'll be tricky, but our cargo transporters can handle it if we break it into components. Billy winced at the thought of disassembling his beloved Zord, but Geordi patted his shoulder. Don't worry, we'll put it back together better than new. Billy nodded. Thanks, I trust you guys. If you hadn't helped, we might not have gotten it running in time. They exchanged satisfied smiles. Soon, the entire party prepared to beam back to the Enterprise. Rangers, Goldar in a special secure transport beam, Worf, and all the teams. Within minutes, they were all aboard. Goldar was taken directly to the brig behind a force field, with multiple security guards posted. He was sedated to keep him docile for now. The Megazord-S parts were materializing into the cargo bay, where engineering crews started tending to them under Billy-S guidance. On the bridge, Picard took a moment to stand by the large windows, hands clasped behind his back, and reflect on the bizarre day. Teen heroes from another universe. A giant monster defeated. His ship and crew safe. It was a lot to take in, but he felt a sense of pride and optimism. The Rangers had reminded him of something fundamental, that courage and cooperation could overcome even the strangest of odds. He turned to see the bridge doors open. The 5 Rangers entered, helmetless, escorted by Troy. They looked tired, but triumphant. The bridge crew at their posts gave a spontaneous round of applause, having followed the entire event on monitors. The Rangers blushed and waved shyly. They weren't used to starship crews applauding them. Picard approached them and extended his hand to each in turn. I want to personally thank each of you, Jason, Zach, Trini, Kimberly, Billy. You've all displayed exceptional valor. The Enterprise and her crew are in your debt. Jason shook Picard's hand firmly. We couldn't have done it without you, Captain. Without your people helping, Goldar might have won. This was truly a team effort. Zach elbowed Worf lightly. And thanks for the save earlier, big guy. You really held your own. Worf gave a toothy grin. It was a glorious battle. Perhaps we will share blood wine over tales of it, though maybe just apple cider for you. He remembered their ages. The young Rangers chuckled. It felt good to laugh after the tension. Troy sensed the Rangers' ease now, and also their underlying worry that had resurfaced, the worry for home. She gently mentioned, Captain, there is still the matter of helping them get back where they belong. Their families, their city, and that sorceress Rita. Picard nodded seriously. Of course. We haven't forgotten. Data, report on the status of the dimensional rift. Data swiveled in his chair. Sir, the anomaly remains stable for the moment, holding position above the planet. Engineering and science teams have prepared a plan to send the Rangers and their Megazord back through it. We believe by using a precisely modulated warp field burst from the deflector dish, we can widen and stabilize the rift, then send a shuttle through as a kind of escort with the Rangers until they were safely back in their universe. The shuttle would return immediately after. Geordi, who had just re-entered the bridge to join the discussion, picked up. We've also outfitted the Megazord with a temporary booster, basically a warp-capable tug that will attach to it, since the Megazord itself can T-fly or maneuver in space well on its own. It should help guide them through the portal. Billy lit up. That's brilliant. We get a tow home through a dimensional tunnel. Just hope Rita S. not waiting on the other side with a welcome party. Kimberly cracked her knuckles. If she is, she's getting a major headache courtesy of us. But I hope we just sneak back and surprise her instead. Trini looked at Picard with gratitude. You were really going to all this effort to send us home? Thank you. I can't imagine how we could ever repay you. Picard smiled kindly. No need. We were just doing what's right. You belong with your people, protecting them. And after seeing what you can do, I have no doubt you'll succeed. He paused, then added, however, if I might impose one more request, if the opportunity ever presents, perhaps one day, you might consider visiting again under more peaceful circumstances. I think we could learn much from each other. Jason looked at his friends and then back at Picard. Captain, nothing would make us happier. You and your crew will always have our respect and friendship. If fate or crazy science things ever bring us together again, we'd be glad to hang out rather than fight for our lives. He laughed. Worf interjected, voice low and somewhat regretful. Captain, what shall be done with the prisoner Goldar? We cannot in good conscience release him here. He would be a threat to our worlds. Picard had considered that. We will send him back with the Rangers, in custody. It is their jurisdiction, really, and he is an anomaly here. However, we'll ensure he is well restrained and perhaps even sedated for the transit. Once back in their universe, how to handle him will be up to Zordon and their Earth authorities, or however they typically manage captured villains. Zack smirked. Usually the bad guys just run away with their tails between their legs. But having Goldar locked up would be nice for a change. Maybe we could stick him in one of those cryo prison cells or something, if we can build one. I bet Alpha 5 could rig something. Data raised a finger helpfully. We will provide schematics for a containment field that could hold Goldar, tuned to his energy signature. That might aid your people in detaining him. Billy S. eyes sparkled. This ship is the gift that keeps on giving. Thank you, Data. Everything seemed to be coming together. Outside, through the view screen, the swirling pocket of energy that was the dimensional rift shimmered like an aurora in space. Picard straightened. Well, I suppose we should not delay. Who knows how long that rift will remain stable? Is your team ready to depart? The Rangers exchanged glances of excitement and anticipation. They were going home. Jason responded, We were born ready. Let us do it. Excellent. Mr. LaForge, Mr. Data, proceed to implement the return plan. Have Goldar secured in Shuttle Bay 2 with the Rangers Megazord. I'll join you shortly. Picard then personally escorted the Rangers to the turbo lift one last time, heading to the shuttle bay. In the shuttle bay, the Dino Megazord had been reassembled and stood towering but inert, power mostly depleted. It had been secured to a large flat platform device with glowing nacelles. This was the warp booster sled that Geordi S. team rigged, effectively turning the Megazord into an awkward but space-worthy barge. Nearby, a Federation shuttlecraft was prepped to accompany them, its hatch open. 2 pilots would take it through and bring it back after. Goldar, still unconscious and now in heavy shackles, plus a containment gurney, was being loaded onto the shuttle under armed guard. Before the Rangers boarded their Megazord to depart, Picard and a small delegation, including Worf, Troy, Data, Geordi, and Dr. Crusher, gathered to see them off. Each Ranger took a moment to bid farewells. Kimberly gave Dr. Crusher a quick hug. "Thank you for patching us up and for just being so kind." Beverly smiled. "Stay safe out there, and remember to get some actual medical checkups when you were home. Adrenaline can hide injuries." Zach fist-bumped Worf. "Keep being awesome, man. If you ever come to our world, look us up. We'll show you how we celebrate after a victory, Ranger style." Worf nodded with genuine warmth in his eyes. Trini bowed slightly to Troy. "Thank you for caring, Counselor. Your empathy meant a lot to us strangers so far from home." Troy put a hand on Trini's shoulder. "It was a pleasure to know you, even briefly. You have bright futures, all of you, and very strong hearts." Billy enthusiastically shook hands with Data and Geordi. "I have learned so much in this short time. I can't wait to tell my friend Alpha 5 all about this tech. You guys have inspired me to push our own science further." Geordi gave a thumbs up. "And you've reminded me about the wonder in what we often take for granted. Meeting someone like you from another world, that is the best part of exploration." Data added, "I will certainly log this experience in detail. Perhaps one day I shall write a paper on interdimensional technical cooperation." Finally, Jason stood before Picard. They regarded each other with mutual respect. Jason offered a sharp salute, which Picard returned in kind before they shook hands firmly. "Captain Picard, sir, it has been an honor. Thank you for everything." Picard gave a rare, broad smile. "The honor was ours, Jason. You and your friends embody the ideals of Starfleet as much as any crew I've known. Courage, unity, and the drive to protect others. We are all very proud to have served alongside you. I wish you a safe journey home. Give your people our regards." Jason nodded. "I will. And if we ever face something we can't handle, maybe I'll find a way to call across dimensions for you." It was half joke, half sincere. Picard chuckled. "Let us hope that one to be necessary, but never say never." With that, the Rangers climbed aboard the Megazord once more, entering via a service lift that took them into the cockpit from the Bay S floor level. They strapped in, though they wouldn't be fighting, just riding out. The shuttle pilot S voice came over comms, coordinating. "Megazord crew, this is Shuttle Volta. We will tractor you out of the bay and then engage warp sled once we clear the ship. Stand by." Inside the bay, the great outer doors opened, revealing the starry expanse and the swirling rift not far off. Slowly, anti-grav units lifted the Megazord and its attached warp sled platform, guiding it out of the shuttle bay. The small shuttle hovered nearby, controlling the movement with a tractor beam. Picard and others moved to an observation window to watch. As the massive robot and its escort drifted out into space, the blackness dotted with stars enveloped them. In the Megazord cockpit, the Rangers stared in awe. They had briefly been in space when falling through, but now they had a moment to appreciate it. Earth's orbit in their world was one thing, but this alien firmament was something else. "Look at that," Kimberly said, pressing her visor to a side view. "I've never seen the stars so clearly." Billy smiled. "Spectacular. But see those formations? They were completely different constellations from our sky. Proof positive we were not in Angel Grove's universe." Jason breathed deeply, focusing on the mission. "We will be soon. Everyone, brace. We want to know exactly how this ride will go, and keep an eye on Goldar's vitals. If he wakes up and starts struggling, we might have to sedate him more. Trini checked a feed that tied into the shuttle S monitoring of Goldar. He S out cold for now. That sedative Dr. Crusher gave him was strong Klingon strength dose, she said. Zack laughed. Remind me never to get on her bad side. The shuttle pilot signaled, all right, rift approach in 1 minute. The Enterprise is powering the rift now. On the Enterprise bridge, Picard gave the order, engage deflector modifications. A beam of energy lanced out from the Starship S deflector dish, hitting the anomaly and widening it, stabilizing the swirling portal into a more fixed tunnel shape. The shuttle oriented towards it, dragging the Megazord behind slowly at first. Then the warp sled engaged, giving a sudden boost as its tiny warp engines kicked in. The combined apparatus flew towards the glowing portal. In the cockpit, the Rangers felt a jolt. "Here we go," Jason said, holding the controls steady, though they were largely being carried. The shuttle and Megazord entered the rift. Immediately, their view was filled with a kaleidoscope of lights and a tunnel-like distortion as they passed into the dimensional corridor. The shuttle pilot narrated calmly, "We re-inside the rift, holding it open. Energy matrix is stable, so far so good. It S like a wormhole." Data S voice came over comms relayed from Enterprise. "You are doing well. We are reading your progress. Portal remains stable. You should emerge in your universe in approximately 20 seconds. Those seconds felt like an eternity as colors danced around them. The Rangers watched in wonder and apprehension. Would their Earth be waiting on the other side? Or something else? With a flash, the shuttle burst out into a clear, starry expanse once again. Behind them, the rift flickered, an exit point like the mouth of a tunnel. Once the Megazord was fully through, the portal behind began to waver. The shimmering edges buckled inward, collapsing like a wounded star trying to hold itself together. Jason expected the view beyond the canopy to shift into the familiar skies of home, expected to see the curve of Earth, the soft blue atmosphere, the glint of sunlight on the oceans below. But instead, the void remained. Black space stretched endlessly around them, pierced only by distant stars. No planet, no sun, no solar system, nothing familiar at all. Jason's breath hitched. He leaned forward, scanning the sensors. Billy was already doing the same, fingers flying with increasing urgency. "This isn't right," Billy said, confusion edging rapidly toward concern. "Based on our position entering the aperture, we should have exited near Sol. There should be stellar density readings, solar electromagnetic signatures, something." Kimberly swallowed hard. "So are we lost in space again? Because I am going to freak out if we were lost in space again." "Not yet," Zack said, trying to keep the tone light, though his voice wavered. "Let us not panic until Billy panics." Billy did not answer. His brow furrowed sharply. Jason straightened. "Report, Billy." Billy exhaled. "The rift didn't return us to our origin point. It redirected us. I think we emerged into a completely different location in the Star Trek universe. Potentially not even the same region we were in before." Trini moved, closer to the screen. The portal behind them convulsed violently, shrinking to a pinprick of white before collapsing entirely, leaving only empty space. Jason felt his stomach drop. That was our doorway home. Kimberly's voice went small. "Can we open it again?" Before anyone could answer, a harsh blip sounded through the Megazord's cockpit. Billy's eyes widened as he pulled up a new sensor feed. Jason, I am, detecting a massive distortion field expanding around us. Something is storing energy nearby. Jason tightened his hands on the controls. Show me. The view zoomed outward. At first, the darkness of space seemed normal. Then, slowly, a faint shimmer became visible far ahead. A ripple, expanding like a tide across the stars. Zach's voice cracked. That wasn't there before. The distortion shimmered again. A beam of pale violet light arced across the void, spreading like a spider web between unseen anchor points. Then another, and another. What is that? Kim asked, backing up a step as though she could instinctively escape it. Billy S.'s jaw tightened, its forming a lattice, a containment sphere. Someone or something is trying to trap this region of space. Jason felt a chill. Who? Billy hesitated. I don't know, but the energy pattern is not like anything the Federation uses. Before Jason could respond, another signal blared through the cockpit, this one loud, sharp, unmistakably tactical. Incoming vessel, Trini said, checking the readout. Fast moving. Vector 015, closing fast. Jason squinted at the display. A faint silhouette cut through the dark, accelerating toward them. Angular, predatory. Its hull shimmered like it was phasing between real space and subspace. Billy paled. Jason, that S not a Federation signature, and it S not Romulan or Klingon either. The ship shot closer, its outline sharpening with each passing second. Multiple fins, razor-like design, harsh purple illumination pulsing along its sides. Kimberly S. breath caught. That thing looks like it wants to eat us. It feels wrong, Trini murmured, like it S alive, but angry. The ship decelerated abruptly, hovering a few kilometers away. Then its forward aperture began to glow, a weapon charging. Jason stiffened. Raise shields. The Megazord S shields pulsed to life, energy coursing through the metal giant. The ship ahead finished charging its weapon, then unleashed a beam of crackling violet energy. Impact. The cockpit jolted so violently that Kimberly stumbled. Sparks rained from an overhead panel. Jason gritted his teeth, stabilizing their stance. Shields holding at 79%, Billy shouted. Jason narrowed his eyes. They want to test us. Zach crossed his arms. Then let us show them what happens when you pick the wrong giant robot. Jason shook his head. Not yet. We don't know what they want. The alien ship angled slightly, scanning them. Then, without warning, a transmission pulsed through sharp, metallic, barely decipherable. The Megazord S systems struggled for a moment, before translating. Unknown construct. Identify. Jason exchanged a quick look with the others. We re the Power Rangers, he said. Defenders of Earth. Who are you? There was a pause. Then the reply came. Irrelevant. You are not of this continuum, Kimberly muttered. That's never a good sign. Another pulse of energy. The alien ship's weapon banks lit again. Jason braced. They were going to fire again. Billy S. fingers danced over the controls. Jason, the distortion lattice is expanding faster now. Intersecting energy flows are compressing the region of space around us. If it completes, we will be trapped inside a sealed pocket universe. Zach groaned. Why is it always a pocket universe? Why can it ever be a spa resort universe? Trini stepped forward, eyes locked on the screen. Maybe this is why the rift dropped us here. If this thing is building a trap, maybe it disrupted our path. We might have been pulled off course. Jason nodded. That means this ship could be the source. The alien vessel fired again. A searing lance of energy slammed into the Megazord S chest plate. Alarms blared. The cockpit shook harder, nearly knocking Billy off his feet. Shields down to 52%, Billy announced. Kimberly S. heart pounded. Jason, we can just stand here and take hits. Jason steadied himself. Agreed. Rangers, prepare for maneuvering. The alien ship darted to the left with impossible speed, repositioning like an animal stalking prey. Jason angled the Megazord-S arms forward. Bring us in closer. Let S see what this thing can do. Billy adjusted the thrusters. The Megazord surged forward, closing the gap. The alien vessel responded instantly, accelerating backward in a sweeping arc, firing a rapid barrage of violet pulses. Each shot slammed into the Megazord-S shields, draining them further. 43%, Billy called. Jason clenched his jaw. We need to limit its mobility. Zach, Trini, work the lower actuators. Kim, keep visuals locked on their flank patterns. Billy, divert auxiliary to stabilizers. The Rangers moved in practiced rhythm. The Megazord twisted sharply, dodging the next set of pulses. The alien ship swerved to adjust. Jason saw his opening. Now. The Megazord lunged forward and swung a massive fist. Metal slammed into alien plating with a resonant boom. The enemy ship spun, disoriented, arc systems flickering. Nice hit, Zach said, pumping a fist. Bet they didn't see that coming. Before they could capitalize, a sudden surge of energy erupted from behind the alien ship. A ripple of light, a fracture in space. A voice whispered through the Megazord-S comms, soft, resonant, unnervingly calm. Fascinating. Jason recognized the voice instantly, a chill running down his spine. Q. Jason froze. Oh no. The alien ship faltered for the first time, as though the presence had disrupted its systems. A faint shimmer materialized inside the Megazord-S cockpit. Light condensed into a humanoid shape, and there he stood. Q. Smug smile. Arms casually folded. The shimmering outline of a Starfleet Admiral S uniform that he had no business wearing. Hello again, power brats. Zach stared. Oh, great. Space Loki is back. Q smirked. Please. Loki wishes he had my cheekbones. Jason stepped forward. Q. If you here to cause more chaos, Jason. Q sighed dramatically. Always assuming the worst. I am here to help. Kimberly raised an eyebrow. You? Help? Q snapped his fingers. The alien ship froze in place, locked mid-turn, like time had stopped around it. It is not of your timeline, Q said, nor this one, and it is hunting you. Billy swallowed. Hunting us? Why? Q walked casually around the cockpit, hands behind his back, inspecting their displays like an art critic inspecting a painting. Because you broke something, Jason stiffened. Broke what? Q sighed again, throwing up his hands. Really? Must I explain everything? Your charming little trip between dimensions created a fracture that hasn't quite healed. And this creature, this oh-so-nasty empire, has been poking its fingers through the tear. They noticed you, and they want the power inside you, Kimberly whispered. The Morphin grid. Q pointed at her. Bingo, someone give the pink one a cookie. Billy frowned. Q, are you saying they are detecting grid energy outside our home universe? Q grinned. I knew you were the bright one. And yes, they smell it like wolves smell blood. Trini's voice hardened. Can they follow us through dimensions? Q tapped his chin thoughtfully. Not yet. But they can cage you here, trap you, extract every drop of that delicious energy and use it to tear wider holes. And trust me, you do not want them getting access to your universe. Jason's stomach twisted. So what do we do? Q leaned in, eyes glinting. You fight back. Jason exhaled slowly. Q, will you help? Q scoffed. Help? Please, I'm only here because it amuses me. But I will give you one little tip. He pointed toward the alien ship. "Destroy their anchor. The rest will collapse." Billy straightened. "Anchor? You mean the lattice field they were generating?" "Precisely," Q said. "Break the central node, and you may just avoid becoming interdimensional batteries." The cockpit dimmed suddenly. The alien ship twitched, time resuming around it. Q winked. "Have fun." He snapped his fingers and vanished. Jason didn't hesitate. "Billy, locate the anchor." "Scanning now," Billy said, eyes darting over the readouts. "The central node there, 200 kilometers below us. A sphere of compressed energy." Jason felt adrenaline surge. "We take it out. All Zord power. Full commitment." The alien ship S weapons reignited. "Rangers," Jason said, voice steeled. "Let S save 2 universes today." The alien ship lunged toward them. The instant Q vanished, as if time itself had snapped like a rubber band. Violet energy flared along its hull, charging for another strike. The Megazord braced, anchoring its stance as the Rangers fueled every limb with raw morphin energy. "Billy," Jason barked. "Where's the anchor?" "Below us. Bearing, -37 by 11. The structure is buried inside the distortion field, but if we push through the top layer, I can triangulate its exact location." Zach leaned forward. "So basically, we punch through a wall of bad vibes and hope nothing eats us on the way down." Trini tightened her hands on the controls. "Works for me. Let us move before that thing hits us again." Jason nodded. "Billy, charge maneuvering thrusters. Kim, keep visual track on the alien ship." "Zach." Trini braced the actuators. The Megazord pivoted sharply, thrusters igniting. It dove downward in a controlled plummet, arrowing toward the murky shimmer below. The alien ship streaked after them, firing a barrage that lit the void with flashes of purple. Impact after impact pounded the Megazord-S shields. Warning tones filled the cockpit. "Shields at 33%, Billy shouted. "If they fire their primary cannon again, we may not withstand it." "Then we don to give them a chance," Jason said. "Zach, power to forward servos." Zach slammed his hand onto his console. "Forward servos powered. Give me something to hit, Red." Jason tightened his grip. The Megazord whirled mid-descent and threw its arm up. The alien blast struck the reinforced plating, exploding in a shower of sparks, but redirecting just enough that the damage didn't pierce their shields. Kim's voice rose. "Jason, the distortion layer is right below us. It's shifting, like tides." The field warbled, light swirling like ink in dark water. The Megazord plunged into it. At once, the world twisted. Colors inverted into sickly neon. Sound warped into a muffled underwater drone. Gravity pulsed like a living heartbeat. Every ranger felt a pressure behind their eyes, like something alien was trying to listen in on their thoughts. Zach hissed. "Oh, I do not like this." Trini steadied herself against the console. "I feel something watching us." Billy's fingers blurred across the controls. "The anchor node is in the center of this pocket. If we maintain vector, the alien ship burst into the distortion layer behind them, tearing through the warped medium with an unnatural scream." The sound carried no vibration, but the sensation of it crawled up the Rangers' spines. Jason forced a breath. "Billy, how do we get to that anchor?" "We follow the distortion gradients. They are pulling energy toward a central convergence point. That's the anchor. In other words, go where the creepy stuff feels worse," Zach muttered. Jason steadied the Megazord. "Billy, guide us." Billy highlighted directional cues on the internal display. "Follow that vector. It's the strongest energy flow." Jason angled the Megazord downward, moving deeper into the warped fog. Strange shapes flickered at the edges of sight, geometric shadows, twisting arcs, patterns that felt like they folded in on themselves. Kim shrank back a little. "Tell me those are just illusions," Trini responded softly. "I don't think illusions make my skin crawl." A pulse rippled through the distortion, shifting. The fog. The alien ship's silhouette reappeared closer than before, weapons flaring. "Incoming," Kim warned. Jason swung the Megazord aside. The alien blast streaked past, ripping open a swirling tear in the distortion. Wild energy streamed out, pulling debris and dust into a chaotic spiral. Billy shouted, "If this continues, the entire lattice will collapse on us before we reach the anchor." Zack snarled, "Perfect. So either we get trapped forever, or we get vaporized." "Love these choices." Jason gripped the controls tighter. "We are not letting this thing win. If they re-chasing us, we use it." Kim looked at him. "Use it how?" Jason's jaw set. "Billy, what happens if their weapon hits the anchor instead of us?" Billy blinked. "It would destabilize the structure, possibly collapse the pocket. But I cannot confirm we don't need confirmed," Jason said. "We need opportunity. Zack, Trini, be ready. We were gonna bait it." Zack cracked his knuckles. "Oh, this is my favorite kind of plan. The stupid kind." The Megazord pulled up sharply, flipping end over end. The alien ship matched the movement instantly, closing distance. Its weapons pulsed again. Kim yelled, "They relocking on!" Billy analyzed the trajectory. If they fire now, the blast will pass very close to the anchor node. Not a direct hit, but enough to destabilize it. "Then we hold this position," Jason said. "But if we take the hit, we won T," Zack cut in. "Not if I have anything to say about it." The alien ship fired. The beam shot straight toward the Megazord. Jason didn't move, not yet. He held steady, watching it grow brighter. Trini whispered, "Jason." He waited now. The Megazord twisted in a sudden, razor-precise movement. The beam missed by meters, passing so close that the cockpit lit with violet glare. Then the beam punched straight downward into the anchor. The entire pocket universe shook. A spine-rattling tremor surged through the distortion field. Light flared in violent shock waves. Strange crystalline patterns shattered in all directions. "The anchor is destabilizing," Billy shouted. "The entire structure is weakening." Jason nodded. "Good, now we finish it. Ranger's power sword." He slammed his palm onto the activation control. Nothing happened. Silence. Then sparks. Billy's eyes widened. The Morphin grid is struggling to materialize weapons inside this distortion. The field is interfering with grid resonance. "Of course it is," Zack muttered. "Because why wouldn't a nightmare dimension mess with our magic?" Jason exhaled. "Fine, no sword. We do this another way." Trini leaned forward. "Jason, the pocket-S collapsing. If we don't get out before it folds in on itself, we're not leaving the anchor intact," Jason said. "If this thing survives, it will track us forever." The alien ship fired again, this time at them directly. The Megazord jerked hard, shields flared. Billy shouted, "Shields at 18%. One more hit and we'll be exposed." Jason clenched his fists. Then we stopped getting hit. With a burst of thrusters, the Megazord shot downward toward the glowing, fractured sphere of the anchor. The alien ship dove after them, weaving through the collapsing distortions. The anchor pulsed like a beating heart, brightening each time the lattice weakened. Cracks split across its surface, releasing geysers of unstable energy. Jason saw his chance. Rangers grab it. Zack blinked. "Grab it? Wait, like with our hands?" Jason pushed energy into the Megazord-S arms. The hands glowed, crackling with a barely stable mix of morphin energy and subspace residue. Grab. It. The Megazord lunged downward and seized the anchor in both hands. The moment they touched it, raw energy surged up the Megazord-S arms. The cockpit flashed white. Every ranger staggered as a thunderous pulse rattled their bodies. Kim screamed. "It's overloading!" Billy yelled. "Jason, we can divert the surge into the lattice. It'll shatter the entire structure. Do it!" Billy unleashed the improvised energy transfer routine he modified from Federation tech. Power raced from the Megazord-S arms into the anchor, then outward through the collapsing lattice in a massive chain reaction. Cracks tore through the distortion field. Light bled out of the anchor until it glowed like a small artificial star. Trini shouted, "It is going critical!" Jason braced. "Everyone prepare for blowback!" The anchor exploded. A shockwave tore through the pocket universe, shredding the distortion layer like thin fabric. The alien ship was thrown violently off course, spinning in a tumble. The Megazord was hurled upward, tumbling end over end, alarms blaring. Billy yelled something about trajectory stabilization, but his voice was lost in the roar. The distortion field collapsed. Light enveloped everything. For a heartbeat, there was only silence, weightlessness, a feeling of drifting between universes. Then they slammed out of the collapsing pocket into open space. The stars snapped into focus, real space, normal physics. A wave of relief washed through the cockpit, but it was short-lived. Kim's voice quivered. "Jason, look." Jason turned toward the view screen. Dozens of ships blinked into existence around them. Massive needle-shaped vessels in formations. Smaller dart-like craft weaving among them, all bearing the same violet glow as the ship that attacked them. Billy stammered. "Jason, this wasn't a scout." Zach swallowed. This was a hunting party. Jason's hands tightened on the controls. And they found us. The largest ship at the center of the fleet opened a massive aperture along its forward spine. Energy swirled inside like a vortex. A single transmission came through, translated as a cold mechanical whisper. "Power identified. Target verified. Acquire the grid bearers." Jason inhaled sharply. Trini whispered. "We re-surrounded," Zach muttered. "And they do not look friendly." Billy's voice trembled even as he analyzed data. "I am detecting at least 30 Class 7 vessels and 2 superstructures. Jason, we cannot fight this." "Many." Jason stared at the fleet. Fear gnawed at the edges of his resolve, but he shoved it down. They had to survive. They had to protect their home universe. They had to think. Kimberly spoke, soft but steady. "Jason, what do we do?" Jason slowly lifted his gaze. "We call for help." He activated the Megazord-S long-range transmitter. It sputtered with static, still recovering from the collapse. Jason shouted into the comms with every ounce of will in him. "Enterprise, this is Jason. We need assistance. Now." The signal crackled, then dimmed. Then a familiar voice cut through the haze. "This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Rangers, we have your signal. Hold position. We on our way." Jason exhaled, relief flooding him. The Enterprise was coming, but the alien fleet was closing in, and the next battle would be unlike anything they had ever faced on either world. Jason gripped the controls tightly as the alien fleet locked its formation around the Megazord. No one in the cockpit said a word at first. Every screen flashed threat indicators. Every sensor screamed warnings. The Megazord vibrated under the pressure of the gravitational nets the ships were projecting to contain them. Kim's voice trembled despite her resolve. They were trying to hold us in place. They want us alive. Zack swallowed the dry fear in his throat. Yeah, probably to dissect us, or drain us, or download our powers, or something equally fun. Trini leaned over her console. The gravitational flux is increasing. If it goes any higher, we all lose maneuverability completely. Billy studied the patterns with unease. Their technology is advanced, extremely advanced. They are manipulating space-time around us, not like Federation tractor beams. This is different, more like they were rewriting the physics that affect only us. Jason kept staring forward, eyes locked, knuckles white. Doesn't matter, we hold out. Picard S on his way. Kim looked at him, eyes shining beneath her visor. What if he can get here fast enough? He can. He will. Jason wasn't certain, not deep down, but he would not let fear crack them. Not with 30 enemy ships closing in. A wave of energy pulsed from the largest alien vessel. The massive aperture along its hull brightened, forming a swirling sphere of violet light. Static filled the comms channel. The Rangers braced instinctively. A translated voice crackled through the Megazord-S speakers again. The grid energy must be extracted. Residual signatures identify 5 carriers. Extraction begins now. Trini whispered. They know how many of us there are. Billy nodded grimly. They've been scanning us since the distortion pocket, possibly since we first arrived in their space. Zack groaned. So they re-stalkers. Great. Without warning, a beam of shimmering violet energy shot out from the superstructure's aperture. It wasn't a weapon blast, it was more like a tendril of force, reaching, probing. It struck the Megazord. Alarms lit up. Energy conduits shook. The cockpit shuddered violently. Billy shouted, "They were draining morphin signatures! It's pulling energy directly from our power coins!" Jason slammed the override. "Cut the link! I can T." They bypassed our external shields and went straight for internal systems. It's like they were resonating with the grid itself. The Rangers gasped as a cold sensation washed over them, like something invisible was tugging at their chests, trying to peel the morphing energy right out of their bodies. Zack choked out, "I feel it. Something's pulling at my morphin energy, hard." Trini gritted her teeth. "Fight it. Don to give them anything." Kim closed her eyes hard. Come on, stay with me, Jason." S voice boomed over them. "Rangers, focus. Hold your energy. Don to let them pull it out. Think of the grid. Think of your Zords. Think of home. Hold the connection." Their bodies lit faintly within their suits as each Ranger pushed back, feeding resolve into their morphing bond. The Megazord S systems groaned under the strain, but the alien beam intensified. Billy gasped. Jason, they were winning. Then a harsh clang echoed across the hull, heavy, metallic, unmistakable. Something had latched onto them. "What was that?" Kim shouted. Billy scanned frantically. "Boarding clamps. They've attached extraction drones to the Megazord S surface. Multiple points. They were trying to cut in." Jason S. heart thundered in his chest. "No, not here, not now. We were not letting these things drag us out of our Zord." Outside, the Megazord S armor glowed where spider-like drones drilled into the plating, violet sparks flying outward as they tried to breach. Jason shouted, "Billy, how close are they?" "Too close. They've almost compromised the dorsal plating. We need help now." A high-pitched whine cut through the cockpit, then a flash, a shimmer, a ripple through space-time. The alien fleet froze mid-formation as a distortion opened behind them, a graceful bloom of blue and white light folding into a circular aperture. The USS Enterprise burst through. The massive saucer glinted against the stars, warp nacelles blazing as the flagship tore into real space with engines hot. The ship banked sharply, swinging into a defensive arc around the Megazord. Jason exhaled a breath he didn't know he'd have been holding. There they are on the bridge of the Enterprise. Red alert klaxons filled the air. Officers scrambled at their stations. Picard stood center bridge, gaze steely, posture sharp as a blade. Mr. Worf, lock phasers on the vessels closest to the Megazord. Target their boarding drones. Aye, Captain. Picard's voice boomed again. Mr. Data, deploy deflector harmonics. Disrupt their gravity net. At once, Captain. Worf punched commands. Targeting now. Phaser banks ready. Fire. Golden lances of phaser energy erupted from the Enterprise, slicing across the void in perfect precision. They struck the alien drones latched onto the Megazord, blasting them off the armor in fiery bursts. Jason's team jolted as the clamps detached. "That's more like it," Zach shouted. But the enemy fleet reacted instantly. Dozens of ships adjusted their formation, enveloping the Enterprise and Megazord in a tightening ring. Data's calm voice cut through the chaos. "Captain, they are forming an enclosure grid. Estimated 60 seconds until they have us fully contained." Riker leaned in. "We can break formation if we push warp power into the impulse manifold." Picard shook his head. "Too risky. It could blow out our drive. We need another opening." On sensors, the largest alien vessel began charging its main aperture again, this time with enough power to dwarf the earlier extraction beam. The violet vortex churned like a storm ready to break. Billy's voice cracked. "Jason, that thing is charging for a full-scale extraction, not just our morphin energy. They want the entire grid imprint." Jason's heart chilled. "They want to strip us bare." On the Enterprise, Troy gasped as a wave of foreign presence washed into her mind. "Captain, I sense them reaching. Not physically, something deeper. They're searching for consciousness linked to energy signatures. They were seeking the Rangers." Picard stiffened. "Mr. Data, analysis. It appears they possess a psionic resonance technology. Not telepathy, but a form of energy-targeted awareness." Riker muttered, "They can find the Rangers no matter where we hide them." Picard stood tall. "Then we make sure we're not hiding. Open a channel." The comm crackled. "This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the United Federation of Planets. Stand down your weapons and cease all hostile action. You have attacked without provocation. We are prepared to defend ourselves." The alien voice responded instantly. "The grid energy belongs to us. Surrender the carriers. Do not interfere." Picard narrowed his eyes. "That is not going to happen." The alien ship pulsed with light. "Then we will take what is ours." Back in the Megazord, Jason exhaled hard. "Billy, can we move yet?" Some maneuvering power restored, but the gravity net is still grabbing at us. Trini frowned. "The Enterprise can protect us forever," Kim added softly. "And they'll be overwhelmed if that fleet focuses fire." Jason clenched his jaw. "Then we give them something else to focus on." Jason looked at Billy. "What systems can we use?" Billy stared at the flashing warnings. "Power reserves at 10%. Weapons offline. Shields partially functional. Thrusters unstable. We barely operational." Zach shrugged. "So same old story. Outnumbered, outgunned, low on juice. Classic us." Trini nodded. "Yeah, sounds like the perfect moment to do something crazy." Jason stared at the alien fleet, at the glowing aperture charging up. At the Enterprise, holding its ground against impossible odds. His voice was steady. We Rangers, we don't let anyone fight alone. Jason fired the Megazord S remaining thrusters. The robot lurched forward, jets spitting sparks. The alien ships reacted instantly, firing containment webs and pulse blasts. Jason dodged one, took another hit on the shoulder plating, and accelerated. Billy yelled, "Jason, we were flying right into the center of the fleet." Jason S. tone sharpened into command. "Exactly." Kim jolted. "What is the plan?" Jason forced the Megazord ahead. "They kept saying they want the grid." "Fine, let S give them something they can T-handle." Billy blinked. "Jason, you want to overload the Morphin signal?" Jason nodded. "Billy, can you amplify a grid pulse using the Zord S internal resonance circuits?" Billy hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Maybe, for a moment, but it will destabilize the cockpit. It will feel rough." Jason exhaled. "Do it." Zach buckled in tighter. "Rough how?" Billy answered without looking. "Imagine getting punched by your own soul." Kim winced. "Awesome." Trini steadied herself. "We with you, Jason." Billy activated the circuit. Deep inside the Megazord, the power coins embedded in each Ranger S morpher glowed, resonating in unison. Golden energy rose through the Zord S systems like burning sunlight. The alien fleet sensed it instantly. All vessels accelerated toward them. Extraction imminent. Extract the carriers. Jason shouted, "Billy now!" Billy slammed the final control. The Megazord unleashed a shockwave of pure Morphin energy. Violet webs shattered against the blast. Smaller alien craft spiraled off course. Massive vessels flickered as energy cascaded across their hulls. The Enterprise bucked as the shockwave passed by, but their shields held. Picard steadied himself and stared at the view screen. Good Lord, the Ranger energy wave created a clearing, a momentary hole in the encirclement. Riker stood. "Captain, we have a path." Jason broke the grid. Data confirmed it. Shields down across several enemy ships. A gap exists for approximately 20 seconds. Picard turned. "Mr. Worf, target engines of nearest pursuing vessels." "Aye, Captain. Fire." Phaser blasts rained onto vulnerable ships. Explosions lit the void. Two alien vessels spiraled into each other and detonated in a chain of violet fire. Picard stepped forward, voice steady as iron. "Now advance into the breach. Full impulse." The Enterprise surged through the opening, drawing level with the Megazord. Jason grinned inside his helmet. "That it, Enterprise. Come on." The Enterprise shot past them, phasers cutting through enemies that were already recovering. Billy warned, "Jason, the alien ships are stabilizing. They'll close the gap." Jason nodded, then let S widen it. Jason fired the last of their forward thrusters. The Megazord followed the Enterprise through the breach as it sealed behind them. Tsaf, fleet roared forward, energy swirling as they reformed. Kim shouted, "They coming after us!" Trini called out. "And something is building inside that giant ship." Billy scanned. The aperture it is charging again, stronger than before. Zach sighed. "Oh good, Phase 2. Jason looked at the Enterprise ahead. "We're not out yet, not even close." Jason watched the massive alien superstructure, building energy inside its aperture, the swirling core growing brighter with every passing second. Every instinct he had screamed that this was worse than the extraction beam, worse than anything they had seen so far. The way the energy coiled inward felt wrong, like something alive was folding itself into a stronger form. Billy S.'s voice cut through the tension. "Jason, the readings are off the charts. Whatever they are powering up, it's not aimed only at us. its affecting the entire region of space. On the Enterprise, alarms blared. Data spoke rapidly, hands moving across his console. "Captain, the vessel is generating a spatial compression corridor. If it completes, it will implode this entire sector." Riker turned sharply. "Implode? As in crush everything inside?" "Correct. Space would collapse inward at a quantum level. There would be no survivors." Worf growled low. "They mean to eliminate us." Picard's expression hardened. "No, they mean to ensure no one stands between them and the Morphin grid. If we or the Rangers escape, we could warn others. They are sealing the battlefield, and they intend to take their time extracting what they want." Riker shook his head. "That gives us minutes at best." Back inside the Megazord, Jason felt adrenaline spike. "Billy, how much time before that thing implodes us?" Billy scanned frantically. "Based on the increasing harmonic frequency, I de-estimate 3 minutes before full collapse." Zach threw his hands up. 3 minutes? Come on, man. Even we didn't pull off miracles that fast. Kim shot him a look. "We do it all the time, just not this big." Trini steadied herself, voice calm despite the rising panic. "Jason, what's at the play?" Jason stared at the swirling aperture. His mind raced. They couldn't outrun it. They couldn't outrun 30 ships, and the Megazord was barely holding together. He looked at the Enterprise on the view screen. The curved hull gleamed with phaser fire. The ship danced through enemy blasts with precision, but it was still only one vessel. "We need to hit the superstructure," Jason said. "Hard. If they were generating the collapse, shutting them down is our only chance." Billy hesitated. "Jason, the Megazord is low on power. We don't have enough energy for a full strike." Jason nodded. "I know. We don't." Zach frowned. "Then how do we break it?" Jason looked at Billy again. "Billy, can we amplify the Morphin resonance again?" Billy's eyes widened. "Jason, that move destabilized us last time. Doing it again so soon could shut the Megazord down, or knock us out, or worse." Jason took a deep breath. "If that collapse completes, we disappear. Anyway, I trust you, and I trust the grid." Silence filled the cockpit. Then Zach grinned shakily. "All right, guess we were punching a space doomsday machine with the power of friendship again." "Classic," Kim smirked. "Let S make it count." Trini nodded. "Together." Billy swallowed, then nodded firmly. "I'll do everything I can." Jason activated the comms. "Picard, this is Jason. We are going to attack the superstructure. It is the only way to stop that collapse." Picard responded immediately. "Understood. We will support you in any way possible. Data Worf, coordinate suppressing fire on the vessels targeting the Megazord." "Aye, Captain," Worf barked. Data confirmed. Firing pattern Delta 5. Beams of golden phaser fire erupted from the Enterprise, sweeping across enemy lines. Several alien ships broke formation, their hulls flickering as they tried to recalibrate. The Enterprise banked sharply, taking the brunt of multiple hits but continuing to fire. Jason focused ahead. Rangers let S do this. Billy began reconfiguring the internal systems. "I am going to reroute what S left of our auxiliary power into the Morphin core. Stabilizers will fluctuate. Dampeners will fail intermittently. When this hits, you need to hold yourself steady by instinct." Zach clenched his fists. "Instinct, huh? I can do instinct." Kim rolled her shoulders. "I'll do more than that." Trini nodded. "Let us bring everything we've got." Billy activated the sequence. Deep inside the Megazord, energy stirred. The power coins glowed brighter than before, each pulsing with the color of its ranger. The cockpit lights flickered. Sparks danced along the rails. A tremor ran up the Megazord's spine as it absorbed the unstable resonance. Jason shouted over the vibration. "Billy, how long until we re at full power?" Billy gritted his teeth. 10 seconds, but we might not make. The Megazord lurched violently as a volley of alien fire slammed into its shoulder. Metal screeched. Warning lights flared. Jason shouted, "Shields!" Billy yelled. "Gone on the right side!" Kim cried out, "Jason, another group coming in!" Jason braced the controls. "Hold on!" The Megazord dipped sharply, weaving between enemy fire as the Enterprise blasted through 2 more ships. On the Enterprise, Worf barked, "Enemy ships closing fast!" Picard looked toward the view screen, voice steady. "Maintain course. Cover the Rangers." Data added, "Captain, the Rangers' energy signature is increasing exponentially. They appear to be preparing an amplified strike." Riker leaned closer. "Let S make sure they get the chance to use it." "Back in the Megazord," Billy shouted. "Jason now!" Jason roared. "Rangers go!" The Megazord lunged forward, morphin energy pulsing through its limbs. Golden light streaked behind it like a comet tail. The alien ship swerved aside, scrambling to avoid the growing surge. The superstructure S aperture glowed brighter as the Megazord approached, swirling violently. Kim gasped. "It's unstable. They were getting ready to fire something." Trini yelled, "We don't have time to wait." Jason pushed the thrusters. The Megazord accelerated straight toward the heart of the swirling aperture. The alien superstructure fired. A colossal beam erupted forward. Jason screamed, "Hold on!" The Megazord slammed directly into the beam. For a single, impossibly bright moment, everything was light and pressure and soundless heat. The Rangers felt their morphing fields flare inside them like stars being born and dying at once. Their thoughts blurred. Their bodies vibrated. Every nerve felt electrified. Billy shouted, "Jason, push the resonance now!" Jason didn't hesitate. He overloaded the morphin core. The Megazord exploded with pure energy, an eruption of color, light, and grid power that tore through the void. The blast ripped down the alien beam, pierced the aperture, and drove straight into the superstructure S core. And then the world detonated. The superstructure blew apart in a shockwave of violet fire. Debris spiraled outward as its hull disintegrated. Smaller ships nearby were knocked away, tumbling end over end. The implosion field wavered, cracked, and shattered. On the Enterprise, Data confirmed it. "Captain, the collapse has stopped. The superstructure has been destroyed." Picard exhaled slowly. "Good work, Rangers." But the victory was nothing like relief, because the Megazord wasn't moving. Inside the cockpit, smoke drifted from torn circuits. Sparks flickered against darkened panels. The Rangers lay slumped, groaning, helmets cracked and visors fogged. Jason forced his eyes open. "Is everyone still here?" Zach grunted, half-conscious. "I am good-ish," Kim coughed. "So much for doing that again." Trini swallowed. "I am awake somehow." Billy groaned softly. "Systems are completely offline." Jason lifted his head. The Megazord was drifting, powerless. A shadow fell over them as the Enterprise pulled alongside. Jason managed to activate the comm. "Picard, we are not doing great," Picard replied instantly. "Jason, we are moving to retrieve you. Hold position." Jason wanted to respond, but everything dimmed. The last thing he heard was Billy whispering that their oxygen reserves were dropping. The cockpit went black. They awoke in sickbay. Jason stirred first, blinking under bright lights. His body ached. His head throbbed. But he was alive. "Rangers?" he croaked. One by one, they answered softly. Kimberly raised her hand. "Present." Zach groaned. Barely. Trini sat up slowly. "I am okay," Billy reassured. "We all here, Jason." Dr. Crusher stepped into view. "You were lucky to be. Your bodies were carrying enough multidimensional trauma to overwhelm most species. Your nervous systems are stabilizing now." Picard stood beside her, hands behind his back. "You fought bravely, and you saved all of us." Jason swallowed, sitting upright. "Captain, thank you for coming. We wouldn't have made it without you." Picard gave him a respectful nod. "We protect those under our care, and you have proven yourselves allies worthy of that protection." But before they could say more, Worf stepped forward. "Captain, multiple alien vessels remain in pursuit. They are regrouping," Riker added. "They want the Rangers, and they want to stop." Jason felt his heart tighten. "Then we can stay here. We were putting you all in danger." Picard shook his head. "The Megazord cannot fly. You are in no condition to fight. We are not abandoning you." Data raised a hand. "Captain, sensors indicate a subspace rupture approaching. It appears to be a naturally occurring dimensional shift, possibly related to the Rangers' earlier transit." Trini gasped. "A rift leading back home?" "It would appear so," Data replied. Jason met his team's eyes. "If we didn't take that rift, the aliens could follow us here, or follow us home later. Staying risks both universes." Picard stepped closer. "Jason, you must go. We will hold the line until you pass through." Jason shook his head. "Captain, there are too many of them." Picard met his gaze with steel. "That has never stopped us before." The Rangers exchanged looks, fear, sadness, pride, all mixing at once. Kim whispered, "I don't want to leave them." Zach nodded. "Yeah, but if we stay, they will die trying to protect us." Billy stared at his hands. "And if we stay, the aliens might find a way to track the grid back home." Trini placed her hand on Jason's shoulder. "We have to go." Jason felt the weight of the moment crush him, but he nodded. He turned to Picard. "Captain, thank you for everything." Picard offered a small smile. "Farewell, Rangers. May your world always remain safe." The ship rumbled as alien fire struck their shields. Worf snapped. "Shields failing!" Riker shouted. "Helm, bring us around!" Data, prepare to open a corridor to match the rift. Jason stood shakily. "Rangers, we need to move." Dr. Crusher handed them stabilizing injectors. "These will help you walk, but go quickly." The Rangers nodded gratefully and pushed themselves upright. As red alert klaxons blared, the Enterprise crew guided them toward the shuttle bay. The rift was opening outside, a spiral of swirling white and gold, and waiting for them beyond lay home. But the enemy fleet was closing in, and before the Rangers could leave, one more battle would begin. The deck of the Enterprise trembled beneath their feet as the Rangers hurried through the corridor, guided by Worf and Data. The ship shuddered with each new impact. The lights flickered overhead. Red alert panels pulsed an ominous crimson glow along the walls. Zach steadied himself against a railing. They were not holding back anymore. Trini nodded grimly. "They know we re-leaving. They re-trying to stop it." Billy watched the ceiling lights flicker again. Their weapons are increasing in frequency. They re-adapting. They relearning from their previous failures. Jason clenched his jaw. "Then we move faster." A violent blast rocked the hallway, knocking all 5 Rangers off their feet. Worf stepped in front of them, raising his disruptor rifle, eyes burning with fierce determination. "Stay behind me," he growled. "The boarding parties will attempt to breach this section soon." Kim pushed herself upright. "Boarding parties?" Data nodded calmly. Several enemy vessels have created partial transport tunnels that allow matter to phase through our shields momentarily. They are attempting to send drones into the ship, Zack muttered. Space bug robots boarding the Enterprise. Fantastic. Really loving today. The lights flickered again. The ship bucked sharply as if shoved by an unseen hand. Riker S.'s voice came through the intercom, strained. All hands brace. Structural integrity fields fluctuating on decks 10 through 12. Worf snapped. We must reach the shuttle bay now. Jason forced his legs to move faster, even as his muscles throbbed from the earlier overload. The others pushed through the pain beside him. The deck pitched again, throwing them forward, but Data reached out with superhuman reflexes and stabilized them. This ship is taking severe damage, Data said. We must expedite. As they reached the next intersection, the air shimmered. A violet tear split the corridor wall like a crack in reality. From it stepped a massive insectoid shape, 6 limbs, armored plating, eyes glowing with the same pulsing light as the alien ships. Its limbs unfolded, blades extending. Kim gasped. Okay, that S knew, Worf roared, stepping in front of the Rangers. Defensive posture, the creature lunged. Worf fired point blank. The blast struck the creature's carapace, but it barely staggered. It screeched, a metallic shriek that rattled the metal bulkheads. Jason shouted, "Worf, move!" Worf dove aside as the creature swiped. Its bladed limbs sliced clean through a support strut, sending sparks flying. Data stepped forward, voice calm, engaging. He moved like a blur, striking at pressure points along the creature-esque body. His blows were powerful, more powerful than any human could deliver, but the creature absorbed them, pushing forward with relentless force. It swung its limb toward Data-esque head. Data caught the blade between 2 fingers, stopping it cold. Trini-esque eyes widened. Did he just... The alien shrieked and drove its other blade toward Data-esque torso. Data pivoted, redirecting the strike into the deck plating. Sparks flew. He slammed his palm into the creature-esque thorax, sending it staggering back 2 steps. But only 2. Jason stepped forward, fists tightening. We can help, Worf barked. No, you must reach the shuttle bay. Zack rolled his eyes. Yeah, that is not happening. That thing will cut through this ship if we leave it alone. Kim raised her hands, gathering what little morphin energy she had left. We donned abandoned people, Trini nodded. Ever. Billy swallowed, assessing the creature with desperate speed. Its limbs look. When it absorbs energy, the plates on its chest glow. If we overload one side, Jason nodded instantly. Rangers hit its left side. They sprinted forward before Data could object. Data stepped back just enough to avoid interfering, trusting them for the moment. Zack struck first, delivering a kick to the creature's left flank. The alien recoiled, surprised by the force. Kim followed immediately, aiming a sharp palm strike under its arm joint. Trini struck from the opposite angle, adding momentum. Billy, though weakened, managed to land a quick jab with the little energy he still held. Jason charged last, slamming his shoulder into the creature-esque left plating with everything he had left. The creature shrieked. A glowing seam appeared along its left side. Billy shouted, "That's the weak point! Jason, finish it!" Jason launched upward, bringing his fist down with a final surge of morphin energy. The seam cracked. A burst of light shot out. The creature staggered back, limbs flailing wildly. Then, with a distorted cry, it disintegrated into particles of violet mist. Silence. Worf exhaled, clearly impressed despite himself. You fight with honor, Zack smirked despite the pain. Thanks, we try to keep it stylish too. Data stepped over the remnants. That was a Class 10 boarding drone. They do not usually fall easily. Your teamwork was highly effective. Trini breathed hard. Then let us hope they don't have too many more of those. Billy swallowed. Oh, they absolutely do. Jason pointed ahead. We need to move. They pushed forward, rounding the final corner into the shuttle bay. In the cavernous hangar, crew members were rushing around a small auxiliary craft, sleek, silver, glowing along the seams with an odd familiar light. Kim blinked. That S not a normal shuttle. Riker turned as the Rangers entered. Good timing. This is a modified craft constructed using your Megazord S residual energy signatures and our emergency warp engines. It should survive the dimensional corridor. Data added. It is designed to follow the Rift S harmonics precisely. If you attempt to travel through without it, your bodies could destabilize. Zack blinked. Wait, you built this in like 10 minutes? Riker cracked a small grin. Let us just say Scotty isn't the only miracle worker in Starfleet history. Billy touched the shuttle's hull, feeling the faint hum beneath his fingertips. The morphin energy, it feels like our Zords. Data nodded. A harmonic echo. Your Megazord S systems were too damaged to accompany you. But this shuttle will channel enough of your energy to remain stable during the crossing. Jason looked toward the massive hangar doors. The rift flickered outside, bright, unstable, fading bit by bit. Kim whispered, "It is closing," Riker confirmed. "You have about 2 minutes." Worf turned to the control console. "Captain, the alien fleet is targeting the rift. They intend to destroy it." Picard's voice came over the comm. "Rangers, move quickly. Data, Riker. Worf, cover their departure." Jason turned to Picard's voice. Captain Picard interrupted gently. "Jason, there is no more time." Jason nodded. The Rangers stepped toward the shuttle when the entire ship rocked with a violent impact. The floor tilted. The view outside flashed as an alien vessel swept by. Worf shouted, "They have breached our outer shield matrix." A violet beam lanced through the hangar shielding, cutting across the deck. Crew members dove for cover. Billy yelled, "Jason, they were trying to destroy the shuttle." Trini grabbed the railing. "We have to defend it." Jason turned to Data. "Can you hold them off?" Data calculated rapidly. "I can stall their drones for approximately 90 seconds. Zack pointed at the incoming shadows forming along the hangar airlock. "That S not 90 seconds worth of enemies." Jason clenched his jaw. "Then 90 seconds is all we need." The first wave of drones phased through the flickering force field, a swarm of smaller units, insectoid and angular. Behind them, the hulking silhouette of another Class 10 drone began to materialize. Worf roared, firing at the swarm. They multiplied regardless. Kim yelled, "Rangers on me!" They formed up instinctively. Zack charged into the first drone with a jump kick, sending it spinning into another. Trini spun low, sweeping a smaller drone off its feet and cracking its core. Kim struck upward, firing a burst of pink-tinged power from her palm, stunning 2 drones mid-lunge. Billy, though weakened, managed to overload a drone-S spine with precise blows. Jason smashed the largest one back with a full-body tackle, slamming it into a wall hard enough to dent metal. But they kept coming. Billy gasped. "There's too many," Jason panted. "Keep going." Data blurred through the drones, dismantling 3 with mathematical efficiency. Worf fired in controlled bursts, roaring as he shielded crew members. But the massive Class 10 drone stepped forward, its blades unfolding with a sickening metallic snap. Kim whispered, "Jason, that thing again?" Jason took a shaky breath. "We can beat it like this, not in our condition." Billy staggered. "The shuttle! They were going to hit the shuttle!" The drone raised its arm toward the craft. Jason shouted, "No!" He ran forward, putting himself between the drone and the shuttle. The drone swung. Jason braced, but the blow never connected. A golden pulse erupted between them, stopping the blade mid-swing. The energy pushed outward in a shockwave, sending the drone staggering. Billy gasped. That was morphin energy. But from what? Jason turned and his heart clenched. The morphin grid itself was glowing around them. A shimmering aura surrounded the Rangers, rising from their power coins with gentle pulses. Their suits flared faintly, not fully morphing, just reinforcing. Trini whispered in awe, "The gridded S helping us." Jason felt strength return to his limbs, just enough. He looked back at the others. Rangers. Let S finish this. With renewed power, they struck as one. Trini darted in low, sweeping the drone S legs. Zack followed with a heavy blow to its chest. Kim leapt high, slamming it from above. Billy thrust his palm forward, channeling a small burst of controlled energy into the weak seam they had exploited earlier. Jason lunged, driving his fist into the creature-S core. The drone cracked and then exploded into violet dust. The smaller drones recoiled from the blast, faltering. Riker shouted, "That's your opening!" Jason turned. "Rangers, move!" They sprinted for the shuttle. Worf and Data provided cover fire. Crew members shielded them. Alarms howled. Metal groaned. Jason grabbed the shuttle hatch and pulled it open. One by one, the Rangers leapt inside. Kim took the co-pilot seat. Billy slid into the system station. Zack buckled in behind them. Trini held onto the emergency rail. Jason stood at the threshold for one last moment. He looked back. Worf firing defiantly. Data calculating firing angles. Riker shouting orders as smoke and sparks filled the bay. The Enterprise trembling under weapons fire. The rift outside shrinking by the second. Trini whispered, "Jason now." Jason nodded once, stepped inside, and slammed the hatch shut. The shuttle engines roared to life. Riker's voice echoed through the hangar. "Launch bay clear." Data activated the Bay S emergency catapult. Shuttle departing. The shuttle shot forward, bursting through the hangar force field just as it flickered and died. The Rangers were thrown into their seats as the G-forces hit. The stars spun. The rift loomed ahead. Behind them, the alien fleet closed in. Kim whispered through clenched teeth. Jason forced the controls steady. "Hold on," and they raced toward the rift and home. The shuttle hurtled toward the rift as the void erupted behind them in a storm of violet fire. The alien fleet poured everything they had into one final pursuit. Their weapons lit the blackness like a fractured sunrise. Beams streaked past the Shuttle S hull, shaking the cabin with violent shudders. Alarm tones howled. Panels flickered. The Rangers clung to their seats as the tiny craft screamed forward. Billy shouted over the noise. "Shields at 20%! Structural integrity is dropping!" Zack yelled. "We just have to make it through that thing. Just a little further." Kim locked her jaw, eyes fixed on the swirling gold and white anomaly. "Jason, the rift is getting unstable. If it collapses now," Jason tightened his grip on the controls. "Then we didn't let it." Behind them, a massive shadow eclipsed the stars. The enemy superstructure that had survived the initial blast was closing in. Its aperture was glowing again, drawing power like a star preparing to go supernova. Trini whispered, "That thing followed us." Billy S.'s voice trembled, and it S charging something even stronger than before. "Jason, if it fires, we redone." Jason stared ahead. "Then we dawn to let it get the chance." A massive pulse of violet energy surged from the superstructure. Jason shouted, "Brace!" The beam streaked toward them. Before impact, a streak of golden fire cut across the shot. A phaser barrage crashed into the beam, scattering it to the sides in a violent explosion that lit the entire region. The Enterprise burst into view, battered, scorched, shields flickering, but still standing. Picard's voice rang through the shuttle S-com. "Rangers, go, now! We will hold them off!" Zach shouted in disbelief. "They still here?" Kim's voice cracked. "They want to survive that fight. We can leave them," Riker's voice cut in, steady despite the chaos. Don T argue, "Move. That portal 1T lasts another minute." Data added, "This is your only window. You must return before the aperture destabilizes entirely." Another blast rocked the Enterprise. The saucer glowed with molten streaks where hull plating had burned away. Life pods were ejecting from one of the damaged decks. The alien fleet swarmed like predators sensing wounded prey. Worf roared over comms. "Warriors, do not run! Go, Rangers! Save your world!" Jason's heart twisted. Every instinct screamed that they had to stay, to help, to protect the people who had protected them, but they couldn't. Staying meant letting the aliens acquire the grid, dooming both universes. Jason looked back. The Enterprise rolled away from enemy fire, phasers carving arcs of gold through the void. Sparks flew from ruptured conduits. Hull plating peeled back like torn paper, yet the ship kept fighting. Jason whispered, "Thank you, Captain." He turned forward. "Rangers, hold on." The shuttle engines flared. They pushed for the rift. The superstructure fired a second time, the beam ripping toward them with unstoppable force. Jason shouted, "Kim, roll us!" Kim grabbed auxiliary controls, forcing the shuttle to spin sideways. The beam narrowly missed, grazing the engine housing with a shower of sparks. Billy yelled, "Right engine is overheating!" Trini grabbed onto the nearest rail. "Keep going!" Zach braced his legs wide. "We were almost there!" Ahead, the rift wavered, shrinking, its edges curling inward like a dying flame. Jason glared at it. Not yet. Not now. The alien fleet closed in behind them. The Enterprise moved between the shuttle and the enemy, taking the full blast of the superstructure S-beam. The impact tore through the ship's shields and split an entire section of the starboard hull. Lights across the saucer died. Fire vented into space. Kim screamed, "Enterprise!" Picard's voice came through weak, static-filled, but firm. "Rangers, go home." Jason felt the throat-tightening sting of both loss and gratitude. Then they hit the rift. Light consumed everything. The shuttle tumbled through the swirling dimensional corridor, battered by gravitational tides. Colors spun wildly, melting and reforming into impossible shapes. Time stretched and snapped. The Rangers felt weightless and infinitely heavy at once. Zach groaned. "I hate this part." Billy gritted his teeth, fighting to stabilize their trajectory. "The rift is collapsing behind us. If it overtakes us, we'll be crushed between states of matter," Trini shouted. "Jason, faster!" Jason pushed the engines to their limits. The shuttle screamed in protest. Panels blew out. Sparks rained onto the floor. Kim cried out, "Hull is cracking!" Billy shouted. "Almost through." Almost. A blinding flash cut him off. The shuttle burst from the rift into open air. Jason gasped as blue sky filled the windows. Clouds streaked past. Sunlight streamed in. Gravity returned abruptly, jerking them downward. Trini looked out the viewport. That's Angel Grove. Zach threw his head back in relief. Oh man, I'm never complaining about this place again. Billy scanned the surroundings. The rift is closing behind us. No energy signature crossing over. No pursuit, Kim whispered softly. We were home, but it wasn't over. Sirens wailed below. The city was in chaos from their sudden appearance. The shuttle was in free fall. Jason grabbed the controls. Billy, talk to me what's working. Billy checked the flickering display. Emergency thrusters only. Hull integrity at critical. Jason, we need to land within 30 seconds, or atmospheric friction will tear us apart. Zach blinked. 30 seconds? That S not landing. That S crashing politely. Trini pointed ahead. There, open field outside the industrial district. No people. Jason angled the shuttle, fighting the spin. Come on, come on. The craft shuddered violently. Metal screamed. Flames licked the underside. Kim braced her arms. Impact in 5 seconds. Jason tightened the controls. Billy, dump all remaining power into the front shields. Billy diverted everything. Done. Jason pulled up. The shuttle hit the ground. The world exploded in dirt and fire. The craft skidded across the field, plowing through soil, bouncing over a ridge, then slamming to a stop. Silence. Smoke drifted from the crushed hull. Inside, the Rangers lay bruised, dazed, but alive. Zach groaned. Next time I am driving. Kim coughed, laughing shakily. Not a chance. Billy pushed himself upright. We survived atmospheric re-entry in a prototype shuttle cobbled together in 10 minutes. Statistically speaking, that should not be possible. Trini smiled weakly. We make impossible things happen all the time. Jason looked upward through the cracked viewport. The sky was clear. Their world was safe. Jason whispered, "We were home." The shuttle door hissed open barely, and the Rangers stumbled out into the sunlight. Sirens from police and emergency services echoed distantly. The city skyline rose around them, familiar and warm. Jason tapped his communicator. Zordon, are you there? Static. Then Jason, Rangers, welcome home. Jason felt tears sting at the corners of his eyes. Zordon, we made it, Alpha S voice chimed in joyfully. Aye, you were safe. Oh, Rangers, you had us worried. Jason exhaled, laughing breathlessly. Good to hear you too, Alpha, Zordon continued. The dimensional disturbance has ceased. Your world is no longer in danger. You have protected the grid and the universe. Trini whispered, and the Enterprise? A pause. Zordon answered gently. Their universe is beyond my reach, but I sense no collapse and no destruction. Kim smiled through tears. They made it too. Billy nodded, voice soft. They always do. Zach stretched his arms overhead. Okay, so what do we do now? Jason looked at his team. 5 teenagers in dusty clothes, standing beside a wrecked shuttle from another universe, exhausted but alive. He smiled. We go home. They walked together across the field, toward the city they had fought so hard to protect. The sun warmed their backs. The breeze carried the familiar sense of their world. Cars honked. Birds scattered overhead. Life went on. Billy looked up at the sky, voice gentle. Do you think we'll ever see the Enterprise again? Jason didn't answer at first. He watched the clouds drifting lazily, imagined a distant galaxy, imagined a starship, battered but standing, crew alive and resolute. Maybe someday, Jason said softly, when the universe needs us together again. The words lingered in the air long after they left Jason S. mouth. The others walked beside him in silence, their footsteps crunching softly against the field's dry grass. The world around them slowly reasserted itself. The distant rumble of freeway traffic, the hum of power lines, the chirping of birds settling into the early evening light, the ordinary sounds of Angel Grove, their Angel Grove. Kimberly let out a long breath, not fearful, not sad, just letting go of the tension she'd been holding inside her chest for days, for battles across universes, for the weight of powers she'd never fully understood until now. She pulled her ponytail loose and shook her hair out, letting the sunlight warm her scalp. "It is weird," she said quietly, "being back here, after everything we saw." Zach nodded, popping his neck. "Yeah, like we stepped out for a minute to buy snacks and came back with trauma, cosmic knowledge, and whatever the heck that was chasing us." Trini smirked. "You make it sound casual." Zach shrugged. "Hey, casual cosmic trauma is still trauma." Billy walked a few steps behind them, fingers lightly grazing the broken communicator strapped to his wrist. He wasn't really looking at it, he just didn't know what to do with his hands. His mind kept drifting back to the Enterprise S bridge, the sleek consoles, the hum of the warp core resonating through the deck, the calm, confident voice of Captain Picard offering advice that carried the weight of worlds. "I wonder what they're redoing now," Billy murmured. Jason slowed until he matched Billy's pace. "Whatever it is, I'm sure they're right-handling it." Billy nodded, but a part of him wished he could see it for himself. To know, to confirm, to learn. Jason could see the thoughts racing in Billy's eyes. He nudged him gently. "You okay?" Billy blinked, startled from his thoughts. "Yes. No. I mean, I am home. We re-safe. But I'd be lying if I said I won, to miss it a little." Kim turned around to walk backward, facing him. "Miss what? The part where we almost died? Twice?" Billy smiled faintly. "The part where we were part of something bigger, where the universe opened up and made sense. Their world operates by rules and physics that I could spend my whole life trying to understand." Trini stepped beside him. "You don't have to understand everything. That is the point. We saw their world, but that doesn't make ours any smaller." Billy inhaled slowly. "I know." Kim gave him a warm smile. "Besides, you Billy Cranston. If anyone ever figures out how to build a starship in their garage at SU." Zach clapped Billy's back hard enough to stumble him. "Yeah, man, and we will totally test pilot it. Kim can bring snacks." Kim kicked lightly at Zach's boot without breaking stride. "You were not touching alien tech unless Billy wraps you in bubble wrap first." Jason laughed quietly. The sound felt good, human, real. He hadn't realized how much tension he'd been carrying until now, how much of himself he'd pushed aside to be strong for them, for everyone, for universes. The faint breeze brushed his face, warm and familiar. "You know," he said, glancing at the skyline, "I didn't think I'd miss home this much." Zach stretched his arms overhead. "Bro, I missed Earth food. You know that ship doesn't have burritos? Or chocolate shakes. It's as a crime." Kim rolled her eyes. "You almost died in space, and what sticks with you is the menu." "Exactly," Zach grinned. Jason stopped walking for a moment, looking out across the city. The tall buildings of downtown Angel Grove stood resolute against the horizon. People were going about their lives without ever knowing how close they'd come to losing everything twice. And he felt proud and humbled and older somehow. Trini followed his gaze. "You thinking about them?" "Yeah." Jason said softly. About everything they taught us. About what it means to protect something bigger than yourself. Trini nodded. We've seen things most people never will. Places we couldn't have imagined. People who fight for their universe the same way we fight for ours. Kim S.'s voice softened. It kind of makes me want to be better. Jason looked at her. We already are. Kim hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, maybe. Zach pointed toward the far end of the field, where the first police vehicles were arriving, lights flashing in the distance. Guys, before they see us standing next to a crashed alien shuttle, maybe we bounce? Billy straightened. Yes. Zordon will want us to report in anyway. Jason nodded. He lifted his wrist, though his communicator was cracked and sparking. Zordon, 4 to beam static. Then Alpha S familiar voice, chirpy and frantic. Yee. I am locking onto your signals now. Hold tight. Light enveloped them, soft, warm, familiar. And in an instant, the field, the shuttle, and the noise of the city vanished, replaced by the grand, glowing chamber of the command center. The air hummed with energy. Screens flickered with readings from across the city. The viewing globe rotated slowly, casting shifting ribbons of color along the walls. Zordon S.'s face glowed within his tube, serene despite the exhaustion visible in his features. Welcome home, Rangers. Alpha hurried toward them, hands fluttering. Yuri back. Yuri safe. Oh, I was so worried. The scanners were going wild, and the dimensional readings were fluctuating, and the alarms kept Zach gently placed a hand on Alpha S dome. Alpha, relax. We re-okay. Alpha froze, processed, then nodded quickly. Right, yes, relaxing. That S, what I will do. After 12 diagnostic passes, Zordon S voice softened. You have all shown extraordinary bravery. Few beings in any universe could withstand what you endured. You protected not just your world, but another. Jason stepped forward. We wouldn't be here without them. The Enterprise, their crew, their courage. Zordon bowed his head slightly. Courage recognizes courage, Jason. And now you must rest. The morphin grid has been strained, and so have you. Kim exhaled. I think I could sleep for a week, Trini added, preferably somewhere soft and quiet. Zach smirked. And with food, lots of food. Billy adjusted his glasses. Sleep sounds nice right after I run some calculations. Jason looked at each of them. His friends, his team, the people he trusted with his life. Let us go home, he said. And for the first time in days, home didn't mean another universe or a distant starship. It meant Angel Grove. It meant family. It meant peace, at least for now. The Rangers placed their hands together in the center 5 points of contact. 5 lives intertwined across battles and bonds that stretched beyond dimensions. Jason looked around the circle. Whatever comes next, he said softly, we face it together. They nodded. Then, one by one, they teleported out of the command center in streaks of red, black, blue, yellow, and pink light, back to their world, back to their lives.